Hey, kids.
We're ready. Yeah. What?
I first came to Tucson, all my friends said, go to this Gaslight Theater and put a smile on your face. Well, I did, and they certainly put a smile on my face. And for me, it's the smile of Tucson. I asked Tony Terry, hey, could I do a documentary about this? And he said yes. Hope you enjoy finding out how this all came into existence and puts a smile on your face too.
Citizens of Tucson, this is a day for celebration.
And the fact of the matter is, to sustain a community theater for 40 years in Tucson or anywhere is quite the accomplishment. And as a result, the Gaslight is really an iconic institution in our community. It's a place where you go if you're interested in the theater to learn theater skills, particularly musical theater. But really what it is a place where our community goes to laugh, to be silly, to gain some universal truths, but sometimes to watch somebody get a pie in the face.
Tony Terry, Tom Benson, all the talented actors and technicians helped put that smile on the face of Tucson. And this piano was probably the piano that was used in Skagway, Alaska, when this all started with the Mighty Moose Melodrama Theater.
Was at a little restaurant called the Camelot Restaurant, and we had residence there, and Tony was my business manager there, and we had met in college earlier. We were putting together a little business there, and for some unknown reason, burned to the ground like a week later. I moved, when that happened, I moved to New York City, and Tony went to Skagway.
I certainly hope you enjoy this documentary, which starts in Skagway, Alaska, all the way to Tucson, Arizona. It's quite a hike, isn't it, Tony?
It all started when I was in Up With People in 1971, and a friend of mine that for the year, had a job in Skagway, Alaska, running tours, and he needed somebody to help. And so after Up With People, I was working at the University Hospital and going to school. He gave me a call, just happened to catch me at my mom's house, and asked me if I'd come up and drive the tour bus. And I didn't think too much about it. I was, enjoying being in school and working. I said no the first time, and then he called back a second time. Caught me at my mom's house again. It's way before cell phones, of course. I said, okay, Bob, how much does it pay? And he said, Tony, it pays $1,000 a month plus room and board plus tips. I'm on my way. I literally left, within the month. I had no idea what I was getting into, and flew into Juneau, Alaska. And I actually asked when the next bus to Skagway was, not knowing that Skagway was locked inland, and you couldn't take a bus. You couldn't take a bus or a taxi. There were no roads to Skagway. So you either had to fly and then jumped on a little puddle jumper that took me into Skagway and dropped me off at the airport. It was just a landing strip, no building, no anything. And I waited there in the rain, looking around, finally wandered into town and found Bob Laurie at the hotel that hired us to do the tour bus driving. And off we went. So I spent the summer in Skagway driving a tour bus and had a great time.
Love to get you on a slow boat to Skagway.
The weather was perfect. And I had been exposed to melodrama theater earlier when I worked at a guest ranch in Colorado. And I was 14 at the time. I actually worked there for 4 years, so through 18. Lake Mancos Guest Ranch, and that was in Mancos, Colorado. We used to take the guests to Durango, Colorado, and the melodrama was in the Strater Hotel. And it was a great melodrama, and had a brother duo team playing the stand-up bass and the honky-tonk piano, and they did melodrama, and it was great. I had a great time. Long story short, years later when I'm in Skagway, I thought, you know, how great a melodrama theater would do in Skagway, because there really wasn't anything for the tourists to do. The cruise ships would dock and unload. 600 people would get off, and there was nothing to do in Skagway, nothing. And I thought, you know, I bet you I could do a melodrama theater. And so I started the Mighty Moose Melodrama Theater, and I rented a big top tent out of LA and had it shipped up to Skagway. I flew up to Skagway in the dead of winter to talk to the city council to get permission to put up a big top tent. And I sold them on this deal, and I said, man, it's a great looking tent. It's red and white. You know, it's not going to be an eyesore. It'll be all right. And it turns out that when the tent arrived in Skagway, it was an old Army tent. You know, still it was 40 feet by 60 feet. And, you know, we didn't have any elephants to put it up. It was just us. And so a friend of mine, Mike Gilbert, and myself, and I enlisted the help of some people in town. We put it up and built the stage inside of it.
You were always a good friend to me. Thank you.
If he wasn't playing hockey, he was scrambling all over the Catalina Mountains, and if he wasn't scrambling all over the Catalina Mountains, he was biking all over southern Arizona or working in ranches in Colorado, or you know, he had so many things going on, working on Model Ts, and he had photography, and he was just incredibly busy. And I remember one day walking over to his house in the summer, and he was working on something in his garage, and he had these large coffee cans. Remember those large coffee cans full of coffee? And they were all cleaned out, and he was cutting holes in it and putting wires in it, and he was making homemade par cans. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing? He says, well, I'm making lights for our trip to Skagway, Alaska. We're going to start a theater in Skagway called the Mighty Moose Melodrama.
I had made some lights out of number 10 cans, you know, with a PAR lamp in them, and then had some Lutron hand dimmers, home dimmers, that we made into our dimmer board.
Last week a big typhoon came. I blew away my little grass hut with my wife in it. Oh, that's terrible. No, she really needed that vacation.
Rented a spot next to the 98 show and started setting up this big tent. And I walk by it every day. So I poke my head in, I see that they're painting scenery and setting up seats, and then I finally got to know the crew just by bumping into them. At that time I was flying for Skagway Air Service. I don't really recall how I met each and every one of them, but eventually got to meet all of them, and we'd go have dinners together, play together, go out to Dyea together just to watch the shows. And I was fascinated by it. I loved all the music, I loved the actors, and the way the whole thing came together. It was really fun.
He rented this lot right here. Where these buildings are is where he would have put up the tent.
Soon we'll be making on the road. Welcome, glad you could join us. Something for everyone.
And then he made me go down and meet the Love Boats. It's like, we had brochures for the show, and I would ask people to come and visit the show, and it was a lot of fun.
She thought I was as insignificant as a little tiny pebble.
Well, Alan, try being a little bolder. I better write that one down.
Every time the cast that I put together, they were great. It was Howard Allen wrote the show. He's still here in town. He wrote and directed and starred in it.
Mining was going on in a small mining community up there. So, and the threat was that there were people who would steal claims and steal gold and stuff like that. That was part of what was up there. But we also did it as a melodrama, the kind of melodrama spoof, the spoofs that Gaslight does now of all kinds of things. Ours was a little more straightforward melodrama that might be a good way to tell a story of that time in history, you know. And of course we had as many female characters as male characters in the show, and so that was a lot more women than would have been up in Bonanza Creek at the time, looking for gold or whatever. But we had saloon settings, and so that this small mining, this Bonanza Creek, had a saloon at least. Tom is one of the secrets to the success, not only of Gold Fever or Danger of Bonanza Creek, but of the Gaslight Theater, because he played a small role in there and even did some singing and dancing, which wasn't Tom's favorite thing in the world, but he did just fine at it. He designed and painted all those drops that were extraordinary. And it was the one thing that we had was every time we changed the location, a new drop would come down, painted by Tom Benson, and we had homemade props that looked good.
Our drops for the Gold Fever or Danger at Bonanza Creek, and he painted those at the Temple of Music and Art here in town.
Tony was looking for people to go to Skagway with him, so I did Skagway first. One of my classmates at the university had me do a set for the Playbox Theater, My Fair Lady. His assistant director, Howard Allen, was going to be Tony's writer and director for Skagway. And so Howard gave my name to Tony to do the set, because Howard had seen the production at the Playbox Theater.
Pencil you issued, Director. Yes, SB-24. SB-248. They used the pencil sleeping gas on Otto, and then come through that door with the acetylene torch. Ah! Ooh, the acetylene torch.
Can you please tell me where pencils come from? Why, of course, they come from Pennsylvania! Yeah!
It was very fun to watch him because he painted a lot of the sets. They painted some prior to getting here and then some they did here. It's just fascinating.
We actually rehearsed it at the Temple, had one show at the Temple of Music and Art before we brought it up to Skagway.
The people that owned the Temple of Music and Art at the time, Tony had done some PR for them. They owed him money. Where the gallery is in the Temple of Music and Art, I painted the backdrop, and we rehearsed the show on the stage of the Temple of Music and Art and kind of had the run of the place for a couple weeks. We actually had an invited dress rehearsal here. I think our families got to see a dress rehearsal here with no scenery.
Very, very talented designer and painter, really talented painter. A couple of things that we did, we were forced by nature to do because of the theatrical rigging. So we did roll drops because we didn't have a fly loft. So we developed these roll drops. Well, when you do roll drops, you have to paint them. Just so happened that Tom Benson was a master painter. So he'd spray paint these things down on the ground.
But I drew and painted my whole life. I took a scene design class, which that classmate was in. The scene design instructor sort of tapped me on the shoulder and shoved me in a new direction and helped me get a graduate position at Penn State. The writer-director was in the show. The musical director had a part in the show. The choreographer was in the show. The costume designer was in the show. I did the sets and was in the show. There was a prop person and he was in the show. And so everybody had it was like summer stock. Well, it was summer stock. It was summer stock in Skagway, Alaska.
I paid for the cast to get from Seattle to Skagway. They had to get themselves to Seattle. Got to Seattle, and then they got on the ferry system, which was great. And we were off on really a memorable, one of the greatest summers of our lives.
He drove a truck to Los Angeles and picked up this tent. The scenery, of course, was roller drops. So he had PVC pipe half the length of the stage. He had to put them together. They had these on top of his truck, whistling all the way to Alaska, sitting in the front seat with his deaf friend. And of course, Tony's driving. Tony can't sign to his friend, so he's driving to Alaska with his deaf friend with these pipes whistling on top of his truck.
The Malaspina, the name of the ferry boat, the Malaspina. We all called it the Malaspinas. And in Skagway, town is completely dead, very quiet, hardly anything there, and we're all looking at each other like, what have we gotten into? What will stay in? We walk through this quiet town with all our belongings, and we're dead tired, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, and it looked like a little western town, not much going on. So we get to the house, find out it was a bordello at one time, and it's pretty rickety. It's taken out their rooms, and Howard and I claimed the best room in the back, which is a private bedroom with a Another one of the actors, Susan Wedekind, brought her daughter Laura, and Laura was 5 at the time. My daughter was 3. And then another friend and her husband brought their daughter, who was a year old. And while we were there, that little daughter, Sarah, their little daughter, took her first step. And we were all so excited.
The job may be small, and the rewards are few. Just remember that the mighty oak once was a nut like you.
Such an adventure. A big leap of faith, right? You heard the story of he had the building all set, and then the town was all threatened. Their little gay 90s group was like, oh, we're not going to get the business anymore, and all of that. And we went up there, and he went, we're going anyway. I mean, he did never say die. Tony is never say die. And all these cruise ships coming in, and that was our audience. There's nobody in the people in the town. They might see it once, but probably were too angry and weren't going to see it.
What I heard was that the theater was the only game in town. So when the ships came in as a turnaround, there was nothing else to do but go to the theater. People on the ships, nobody spoke English. They went to the theater anyway. So they went and saw this melodrama. They had no idea what was going on. So it was definitely silent throughout the whole play. But there was one part in the play apparently where there is a scene where a ship is docked in the harbor. Tom always painted the name of the ship that was in the harbor on the ship that was in the show. The only laugh in the show was when the people saw the name of their ship up.
Started putting up the tent. As soon as, that happened, the reality of what we were doing, hit home.
2 or 3 times a day, I'd walk out. I was right across the street. I'd walk out and there fell or something. And when I went over and looked at him, and I could hear he's snoring, and he's laying on his back in the middle of the town, and he's taking a nap. And so I jumped next to him where he was and jump up and down, and he'd wake up. Whoa, what's up? What's up? And I said, oh, I was getting ready to do cardio fix, make you alive, because I thought you were dead. He said, oh, no, I can sleep anywhere, but then he went right back to sleep. And so anytime I went around there and he was sleeping, I'd always screw with him a little bit, because it was just a fun thing to do. You put a whiskey bottle next to him, or a pile of dog shit, or just whatever was close at hand that he may or may not get into, or it was just one of the things.
Lots and lots of energy for a little short guy. He had all this ambition. It was just amazing to watch him work.
The summer of 1978, because there were about 50,000 total cruise ship passengers that came to Alaska in those days. The ships are very small. Today, during a modern season, there are 1 million cruise ship visitors that come to Skagway in the course of a 135-day season. So if you can imagine, there were only 50,000 total people that were coming to Skagway at the time, and then imagine that there were already 2 theater companies in town. There was the Days of 98 show, which had been put on by the Eagles in the Fraternal Order of Eagles Club as a community theater in the evenings since the late mid-1920s. And the money from that all went to charities and to scholarships for the kids. And then there was a new theater company that had showed up in 1973, the Soap Theatrical Company that did the Soapy Smith Show, or the Soapy Lives Show. That show was during the daytime. They'd made sort of an unofficial truce with each other, because it was a very small town. And the Eagles were up in the Eagles Hall Theater, and then the Soapy Show was down in the Arctic Brotherhood Hall. Soapy Show did their shows during the daytime. They didn't do shows at night. And then the 98 show did their shows at night, and the Soapy Show wouldn't compete with them. So basically, they were kind of trying to cover these 2 times of the day.
We always knew what was going on. We know if it was working really well. You start to know what the show is going to be like, even if you're not there, because you're just across the street and you hear it over and over again. When they come up with, well, she was always fast like that, you'd know what it was, and everybody'd laugh.
I haven't seen anything like that since I saw a guy with 5 legs.
You saw a guy with 5 legs?
Yeah, but his pants fit him like a glove.
There had to have been at least a dozen people involved in the staging of this thing and putting it on. And I even remember, I went and sat in to watch I think he did a series of several community shows so people would be able to see what he was doing. And the dancers, the singers, it was all professional type casting. I mean, our little 98 show was a bunch of local volunteers, and the guys now doing the Soapy Smith Show, where I think there were 3 or 4 people that were doing that little show. So this was a real cast.
I was the heroine, which was unusual. I was usually the comedic parts. So it was very fun for me. Usually, I mean, people who play the heroine all the time want to be the comedic because it's usually not very fun, right? But this was fun. And Susan Wedekind, wonderful Susan, was the comedic part, the kind of funny, silly part. You know, Tom Benson, and I played opposite Tom. We just laughed. And Tom was my romantic counterpart. We did Choo Choo Honeymoon. There's a little verse which I can't remember, but it's choo 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 funny, choo 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 sunny, choo 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 honeymoon.
It was totally choreographed and performed. It was a professional production about the Klondike Gold Rush, and you know, it was good. The story was good. It filled actually a hole that hadn't been being done, and I enjoyed it immensely. I still remember, I think, one of the songs that was kind of like almost the theme song was Skagway, Skagway, la da 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 da. Welcome to the gateway to the great Yukon. Gold rush fever is what we live on. Skagway, Skagway, da 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 da. Something like that.
We had auditions here. They were all from the U of A. It was a great group, just a great group of kids. It was great. Carol Desco was there. Susan Wedekind was there. Tom Benson. Tom was our lead actor.
The leading man, and Howard very cleverly wrote it so that I disappeared after the first scene, and I didn't appear again until the very last scene of the play. And who is the reason for the Gaslight was the leading lady. And so she went off to Alaska to find me. I went missing or whatever. I was off to the gold rush, and so she follows behind looking for me. So it's all about her finding me.
And it was a magical time. It was wonderful. I had no idea what I was doing, no idea what I got into. After about 2 weeks, it dawned on me that I didn't have enough money to pay these guys because we weren't selling enough tickets. So I went to Bob Laurie, my friend from Up With People. He was still working there. And I asked him for my tour bus driving job back. And I got my job back, and he let, thank God, and so I would take this tour bus around Skagway, and I'd park in front of the tent, and I'd go, you guys got to come see this group. They are wonderful. You can't miss this show. And then, of course, that night they'd be there, and I'd be selling tickets. But it was just wonderful. It was a great experience.
Broke into the Central Soap Factory and stole 2 tons of soap. Yes, police say they made a clean getaway.
Every dime that I made driving the tour bus and, tips from driving the tour bus went to paying our actors. We didn't make a dime. It was tough. The first summer I was there, the weather was perfect, like being in Colorado on the beach. It was great, but the second summer, it was freezing. And it turned out that Skagway means home of the north wind. There was no north wind that first summer. It was perfect. So the second summer was just colder than cold. We had to hand out blankets to the audience, and I had to rent these big propane heaters that we could only turn on at intermission because they were so loud. So we'd hit intermission and it'd be. But it was a great experience.
So we had these monstrous heaters that blasted in, and they were loud. So we had to project like crazy. They were super loud. But anyway, to get business, the first few shows, we probably had maybe 18 people in the audience or so.
San Francisco earlier, and I had seen the Beach Blanket Babylon, and that kind of implanted the idea of owning a theater in my mind. Because at that time, they were just transitioning in from a rental to purchasing their own theater. And I was really intrigued by that. I thought that was a great deal. And what really happened was about halfway through the summer in Skagway, I called my brother, and my brother Tom, and he and I decided, for whatever reason, to try to continue it here in Tucson.
Hello, and welcome to the Gaslight Theater.
My brother Tom came up with the name of the Gaslight when I was in Skagway with the Mighty Moose Melodrome, and we were moving it here and needed a name for it. He came up with Gaslight because at the turn of the century, that's what they used, gaslights. for whatever reason, to try to continue it here in Tucson. And so he did all the legwork. We found a theater, a space at Pinnacle Peaks on Tanque Verde. And it was the building out front, and it was an old hay store, hay and feed store, when it was first built, I think. And Mr. Bates with Agro Land and Cattle was nice enough, I don't know why, but he rented it to us, you know, for next to nothing. And so we came back from Skagway. We spent about 2 months building it ourselves, remodeling it, putting in the proscenium and the stage. Although we only seated 104, it was tiny. And but we had a beer wine license. We had free popcorn, kind of the same idea that we had that we have now.
Very early Arizona post office here in Tucson, and it's the original craftsmanship. It's not refurbished. They just did it once and did it right. If you lift up, it blocks all the ones above it and keeps your privacy. And then if you press the little button, it'll hold your box open while you take things in and out. And then you just lift up again to close it. And it's never had to be, you know, fixed. It all just works the first time. So it's just some great engineering from the past, back when they made things to last.
Yeah. We started the Gaslight Theater here, just on a shoestring. The actors helped us. Roger Lummis was with us at that time. He was an actor in Alaska, came back.
See, he just doesn't see.
And Tim Gilbert, he was here in town, didn't go to Alaska. But these are all guys, Joe Cooper, all people that helped us build that first theater. And we were just nuts. We had no idea what we were doing. I mean, Tim Gilbert was our first. He was the man with the eyes. He's still around. Just a hilarious guy. He had to retire. He has a back disease, and so he couldn't act anymore. But he's still alive and kicking, and he was funny. He was always our funny guy. And people today, you know, 38 years later, are still saying, "Where's the man with the eyes?" He had big eyes, big expression, filled eyes, you know, that, oh my God, he was great.
It's all over my face.
No, it ain't what they are. I try to get the little thing inside.
Tim Gilbert, boy, what a talent. The audience loved Tim Gilbert. They called him, a lot of times they didn't really know his name. They knew him, the guy with the eyes, the man with the eyes, and he was just amazing. He could just walk out on the stage, and he was hilarious. And often, Tim would be the second act. They'd do the opening of the Oleo, and then Tim would come on as the second number, which was really a difficult spot. And he'd come out as a duck or a ballerina, and he just could stand there and look at the audience, and they were beside themselves laughing. I miss Tim. He was just an incredible talent. I haven't seen him in years, but I was really fortunate to be able to work with him for quite some time. Actually, the first show I ever did with Tim Gilbert and Joe Cooper, and both incredible talent. Privileged and lucky to be working with them.
Tim Gilbert was always the comic henchman. And that's who he played, you know. Double takes, you know, that was his shtick, and eyes. Tim Gilbert would get in trouble with me sometimes because he would break fourth walls too much.
What he did more with his eyes and his attitude that
audience was just always just dying laughing.
It's funny, and you're funny, and we'll let them do that.
And then Joe Cooper kind of took the Tim Gilbert roles.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I do, what lady? Oh my God. Yeah, boy. You became the funniest man in Tucson.
Joe Cooper became, you know, another huge star.
I'm Ed Sullivan. Tonight we have a really big shoot for you tonight.
I knew everybody from the Gaslight Theater, but at the time when it started, I was in Los Angeles. So I came out and saw a couple of shows, and I loved it. And a guy that was working in the show at the time called me and said, why don't you come out and do a show at the Gaslight? And Tony says it's all right. So I came out, and that was, I think it was 1982.
Hearing aid in the world. I'm not kidding you. It cost me $40,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, but you can hear a pin drop at 500 feet.
Really? What kind is it?
630.
Nice to meet you, sir. Likewise, I'm sure. Snuff? Oh, it's more than enough. Don't mind if I do. Thank you.
I left LA and I moved out to Tucson because after the first night at the Gaslight Theater, I said, this is it for me. Renfield and Dracula, that was a lot of fun. Tonka in The Lone Stranger, the Indian, that was a blast. And Madame Giry in The Phantom. I played a woman. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And if they do it again, I'll do it again.
Joe Cooper's never known his lines ever.
15-minute dying scene. I thought was pretty fun.
That's the secret with that guy.
That was one of my father's jokes. Yeah, what are you? What are your mother?
He's kind of been the grumpy old guy backstage, right? He never wanted help with his lines.
Bossy didn't know her way around town. Why, any cat know her way around the whole state of Georgia. Well, ordinarily that would be true, Doug. But Bossy was a Jersey cat.
Even though he could never remember any of them. If there was an audience in front of us, he could figure it out. But like in rehearsal, not as much. I remember being a young woman. I started here at 19, and it was just Heather and I backstage. It was just two women at the time. And so we didn't know what we were doing. Whenever we would like mess up, he'd give us a hard time. And we learned right away just to turn around and give it back to him. He could dish it out and take it, which was a gift, because a lot of actors can dish it out and they can't take it.
Cooper is, without a doubt, the funniest person to ever tread the boards at the old Gaslight. Hands down. I'll fight anybody that says otherwise. He is absolutely the funniest guy I think I have ever met.
You know, I got a dog and his name is Ballpoint. Ballpoint? Is that his real name? No, that's his name. To save. To eliminate crime.
I would love to see Joe just walk out on stage and read the phone book. Oh my God, he's hysterical.
Yeah.
But he's funny. Oh my God, he's funny.
He's been a friend of mine since high school.
He said that.
Yeah.
He went to high school.
Oh yeah, and college. Yeah. And we never thought he would do something like this, and he did. And he's very successful. He's a great businessman. And he's all about fun too.
Yeah, we went to Catalina High School together. Yeah, and he was a funny guy back then.
He's 23, 24 years old. Joe Cooper made me cry. I think it was no, it wasn't during Bus Corey. It was later. I remember he in Jax. think he called me a barge. And I got so angry with Joe. And you know, most of what Joe Cooper did was to test you. Could you take it? What was your limit? What was your breaking point? And these guys were at the top of their game. They were quick and they were fast and they loved to play and toy with people. Joe Cooper is incredibly talented. He is a clown. He was somebody I learned a lot from on that stage in terms of timing. Could he make you cry?
Go and get that chest up.
We had Glenda Young, who was just tremendous, beautiful lady. She's in Tucson still. She's actually Joe's ex-wife's mom. And she even to this day, she's so talented.
My, she's a striking beauty. Yeah, no, she struck me twice today. Remember Glenda Young? She was here a long time ago, back in the 80s. Stand up, Glenda.
Things to have toilet paper stuck to your foot when you went out. I mean, either that or the guys, when I had this solo, in fact, it was a Western thing. I go out walking after midnight, and they do this walk-a, walk-a, walk. Well, they were doing walk-a, walk-a, walk, like they were going to pass out because they were sewing walk-a, 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 walk. And I kept saying, what's everybody laughing at? And then, of course, I looked back at them. I can't tell you how many times. I was something every time. Well, you had to be a lot of things. My favorite was when I was the angel.
I was there with Glenda Young. Glenda Young was somebody that, in my opinion, she could have been a movie star. I mean, she had it all. She's still just a beautiful woman and an incredibly talented woman.
Teach these fellas a lesson on how we do things here in Tucson.
It's been a real joy. I mean, Armin is, you know, the original Gaslight heartthrob, and he still astounds me with his ability to, you know, his talent and his incredible power as a singer. And it's come a long way because I used to think Armin was just full of himself.
I certainly hope this is leap year.
And now I think he has every right to be full of himself, and I think he's mellowed a lot through the years. I think we all have, those of us who've been around the Gaslight stage for a really long time.
Give yourself a hand.
It was at the Gaslight on Sabino and Tanque Verde. That's where Joe and I started in 1983. We started at the Gaslight. I did at Sabino and Tanque Verde, and I got to work with Richard Glover there and with Arnie Krause, an incredibly talented actor. He had been working with the Arizona Theater Company. I had just come from the Arizona Theater Company, and a funny thing happened on the way to the Forum, and Michael Maines and Eric Erickson wrote The Pirate King, and that was my first show at the Gaslight on Sabino and Tanque Verde. That was the first Grandma Tony's Pizza, too. And that's where we kind of cut our teeth, with Danny Griffith playing the piano, Dan Stankin playing the piano. Just, I mean, it just an amazing amount of people.
Remember Armin when we had to do this big kissing scene, right? Or not, I mean, kissing by Gaslight standards, but he was so like kind and like, it's like, okay, I understand there's a big age difference here because, again, I was 19. And at that time, I had done, like, you know, I don't know, a couple of, like, relatively, like, chaste stage kisses with people. And I was like, dude, I'm good. Whatever you need to do. And he was like, no, we're going to talk this through. And blah, blah. And he took me through every single step, where he was going to stand, where he was going to put his hand, how he was going to lift me up, because I'm quite short. He's quite tall. So, like, there was definitely, like, he had to kind of support me, or it would have been dangerous for his neck and back. Like, the man is a consummate gentleman.
Had a gimmick. I would sing a love song and hold a woman's hand, and then I would turn away from her, and then I would come back and I would sit on her lap, and I would take the program and I would fan her, and it was just one of my bits that the first time that it worked, I was sort of shocked. It caught me off guard, and then I went, oh, I better keep that. And I probably did that same bit for 30 years. Tony has been wonderful for me. I will have been with him for 40 years. I started in 1983. Made sure that I was able to perform, and it was a kind of a pioneering time. It's my job.
He ended up as a regular after I left more than there because he was busy. He was a singer in town, and he performed lots of places as a vocalist as well. And so when we got him, I don't know that I used him. I can't think of another show I used him besides American, but he was brilliant and he was perfect for it.
Every time I play golf, I always make sure I wear 2 pair of pants. 2 pair of pants, by far. Okay, so, hold it up.
Yeah, and a great golfer. Always has been. Well, when you're 7 feet tall, what do you do?
Get together, have lunch, play golf.
I think Tony's whole philosophy was he wanted to bring something to Tucson where people would have fun and good, clean family entertainment. Dark on Monday nights, as I said, and I went up to Terry, the owner, and I said, Tony, you're dark on Mondays. Why don't we try to have a Monday night concert? The first half I did with the Mickey Greco Quartet, and I would always have a guest. And then the second hour on Broadway would join me, singing version of Manhattan Transfer Arrangements and also medleys of Broadway shows. And it was incredibly successful. We did one a month on Monday nights for 3 straight years and sold out every show. But because of that, I think a lot of my fellow actors and performers, they got their Monday night acts together, and of course it's grown since then.
Welcome to the Gaslight Theater, Hollywood Rock.
That's the whole way I played.
Wow! I'm not gonna do this no more. It's so kind and cause my heart belongs to Daddy. Yes, my heart belongs to Daddy.
Davis, right here, great comedic timing, dancing, singing, just a great fun on stage. Did all kinds of fun parts like this. See, she's smiling, and that's Donna Davis.
I'll never forget it. The guy dressed like a gunman.
Well, I have memories of Donna. Donna was incredible. I always believed that Donna could have been a sitcom star in Hollywood. She had incredible timing. She could do things with her voice. She was an incredible actress and a fine singer. I always wanted her to do jazz standards with me. She was pretty reluctant to do that. Everything came so easy for her. She had impeccable timing. That was one thing. And she could do it all. She could sing, she could dance, and she could act. And just a beautiful lady, really talented. I miss working with her very much.
Queen of the Jungle with Donna Davis. That may have been my first one in this building. Well, meeting her and seeing her on stage were two totally different things. Nicest lady, smartest lady, and she drew my attention the most on the stage out of everyone.
The music that is talented and beautiful.
There's a coconut grove where I'll be progressing the you gas and sweet.
Out here in 1986 and started at the location at Tango Verde in Sabino Canyon. And my first show was Secret Agent Man with Armand D'Artagnan. He was my first leading man at the Gaslight. I know, right?
Well, we're giving you a number and we're taking away.
Left to go travel the world and called Peter. And because Peter used to be in the shows with me back in the 80s.
Okay.
I was at the hospital the night Taryn was born. Came back in 2003, called Peter and said, hey, do you need anybody? He said, yeah. As a matter of fact, we have understudies now. Like, shut up. And microphones too. Shut up. So I've been back off and on since then.
See all the different casts, to see people who've been there since the beginning, like Joe Cooper, Armand D'Artagnan. But Shanna Brock, who is an actress here, and she also bartends. She was also an actress before. So many of us ebb and flow. We go, we come back, we go, we come back. It was actually her very first show at the Gaslight, and she was an understudy. And she was supposed to sing a song in a boat. And Joe Cooper, who, you know, legendary Joe Cooper, his kids for Christmas had given him an electronic remote control flatulence machine, and he taped it in the boat. And for her very first show, for her very first solo, he's back there with the remote control. And it's going off in the boat as she's singing her first song. And yeah, he and Dave Fanning are in the back dying, and she's trying to completely keep her composure. And she made it through trial by fire. And it's like, you know, what a better initiation into Gaslight Theater.
I was 16. It was, I had one job prior to for like, I don't know, a couple months, and I always loved the Gaslight. I remember the first time I went to the Gaslight and saw Joe Cooper.
A thing called the Waiter Sketch, which was just a bunch of old vaudeville stuff kind of smashed together. And I was the waiter, and Joe was coming in for a meal to the restaurant.
When I was over on Tinker Verde, and they spit water while he was posing on the fountain, and it like caught all over us.
Hey, what's this fly doing in my soup?
Susan Wedekind was our first ingenue. Jane Merrifield was beautiful, went to college with her. She was an ingenue for us in the, you know, oh God, I don't know how many years, probably 15 years.
Jane had the role of her lifetime in the Gaslight history, I think, because she was always the ingenue, always the ingenue. But she got to play the villainess. She was the baker's wife, and she had, you know, blacked out teeth, and she got to turn ugly. And Jane's so not ugly, you know. So it was very fun. She did that.
Tony from the drama department, and he had come to see me in Cripple Creek, which was a melodrama company, and he so enjoyed it, he wanted to start his own. So when he started at Trail Dust Town, he invited me to be in the company. And I started at Trail Dust Town, moved up to Sabino Canyon, and I was with him for about 8 years. And it was my life. I loved it. I hated doing anything else except for acting. And there was something about the melodrama company that I was able to use my singing, dancing, acting, and comedy. It was just a perfect vehicle for me. The secret, I played a real villain. And it's an old melodrama that he used in the beginning. He used to use old melodramas. So we did that one, and I played the lead, and that was a great part for me. And in a little bit of magic, I loved playing. I forget her name, Velma, I think, and she had big boobs, and she was brassy and blonde, and it was a lot of fun to do. That was probably those were the two of my most favorite roles. And I played a tap dancing waitress too, and a little bit of magic. So that was great. I learned how to tap overnight. I mean, I was standing in my apartment tapping on this tap board, driving my neighbors crazy, and learned how to do a time step and some other steps. And it was just, that was a great show. A little bit of magic is probably one of my favorites.
Came back in '93, and I had mutual friends. I had gone to U of A with Tony and Tom Benson, and then Joe Cooper also, and Tim Gilbert. And it was so knowing all of them, I was then in touch with a director who was working here at the time, and she asked me to come on in. And I worked here through around 2003. Heroes and sidekicks and Guy Fridays and in Westerns and in movie spoofs and in Christmas shows. How's that? Christmas bonus of a $20 bill that I still have never spent. So it hasn't gained any interest in 20 years, but maybe I should take it back and see if I can hit them up for some.
How much does Santa Slate cost?
Nothing! It's on the house!
Betsy Cruz is the most beautiful, talented woman in the world.
Television personality Buddy Baker here! Betsy was come back and Heather had left. So at that point was me and Betsy and Deborah.
Davis, Glenda Young, all of these women that were incredible comedians, and I was just, this fresh-faced little thing from South Dakota, and playing with the big boys, Joe Cooper, Cameron Martin, David Johnston was in that, of course, James Gooden. It was, like being thrust into this fun, crazy boys club. And, if you're funny and you happen to be a girl, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. So navigating how to stay alive, have faith in yourself when you're swimming with the big boys at the Gaslight at the time, it was a lot of fun. I mean, the biggest thing about Buzz Corey and the Crab Men, or I think it was Crab People, who knows? I mean, we were not as politically correct at that time, so I think it was the Crab Men. And I certainly was one of the Crab People, was the costume. I mean, imagine the costume I wore for this show was just a gigantic red crab shell with red fishnet stockings and red high heels with a quintessential sideways walk. I mean, it was crazy and very, very fun. I had a magnificent death scene, which I will admit that I may have milked on many an occasion. It was just incredible. It was so much fun because the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that we all make it look so effortless at the Gaslight. We always have. It looks like we're just having fun.
Really, really tall women on my mind. How do you?
What is zinc?
Why, that's what happens when you can't swim.
It takes a lot of hard work, and there's so much talent on that stage at any given time that I've always, as a teacher, as a director, as somebody who has been in this community for a very long time, off and on, 30 years off and on, I have nothing but the highest of accolades to say about some of the shows I've done and the people I have worked with and shared that stage with.
Have a dream, have a vision, have a dream, make it grow.
And even though it might be playing Countess Crustacea in Red Fishnets, I cannot express enough how incredibly talented, how much respect I have for all of my fellow players on the Gaslight stage. Christmas in the Big Apple, that was a big show that I originated, Vonda. I believe I was the first Vonda to cringe.
We were just nuts. We had no idea what we were doing. Went with Gold Fever. I think we did the same show that we did in Alaska. I'm pretty sure we did. But it was tremendous, and there was a critic in town, Micheline Keating, and John Peck. Micheline Keating has passed away, but John Peck is still in town. In fact, he's a judge now. Just a wonderful man. But if it weren't for Micheline Keating and John Peck, we would have never, ever stayed in business.
But they were legit reviewers, and they became huge fans. The Gaslight wouldn't exist without them. There's no way it would have existed without them.
They, for some reason, were nice to us and just gave us the support, unbelievable support for a little acting troupe, and gave us great reviews when we didn't deserve them, and gave us the press that we needed. And we started building. And so we were at Trail Dust Town for 3 years, outgrowing the space, filling it every night, but with 104 seats, couldn't pay the bills. And so I found a space down on Sabino Canyon and Tanque Verde. I went in, and the owner of that center was Ann Gillespie. Amazing lady, amazing lady. So she owned the center, and I went to her and said, Ann, I'd like to rent this spot, and I'd like to put in our Gaslight Theater. And I had it was 3 retail spots and a hallway that I had to demolish, and we had to excavate, and to make our theater. And for some reason, once again, she said, okay. I have no idea. We had no credit. We had no money. We didn't have anything. It was unbelievable. But I knew that in order to survive, we had to move. So we would run the theater at Tanque Verde, close it down at night. Then Dave Darland, who still works for me today, wonderful man, he was my next door neighbor, my mom's next door neighbor. And he started, I don't know how old he was, 10 or 12, I think. And he used to come with me during the summertime and hang out at the theater. So he would hang out at the theater, but, and I paid him nothing. I think I paid him free popcorn and lunch and maybe a ride, I don't know. But without his help, it would have never happened.
So, after our first theater in the barn, we moved into a larger place on Tanque Verde, and it was all storefront property. In order to get the house that we wanted, we had to dig out the concrete, and digging out the concrete, we'd take it in wheelbarrows out into the parking lot so we could throw it out, and Tony would pay us a nickel a wheelbarrow for every wheelbarrow we took out. And I was, a 12-year-old scrawny kid, and I could only fit a couple of these large blocks into the wheelbarrow, and so I'd get about 2 blocks out, and I just remember Tony saying, "Can't you do more than that?" And so we stuffed it full, and of course I'm going down the sidewalk, and it was really too heavy for me, and the wheelbarrow got loose, and the rocks came tumbling out all over the parking lot.
And parents do so much for us, and sometimes those things are really hard to see. Parents working long hours all the time, but coming to the show, knowing that my father was the lighting designer, this is something that I can visually see, I can point at and be like, that was my father's work. So
I rented a little Mustang Bobcat tractor and drove it myself. We all drove it, and we excavated that theater. It was unbelievable. We, rented a jackhammer and took out the floor, and I did hire a contractor to help us when we were pouring the concrete, and couldn't have done it without her. Patty Gaughan, a tremendous lady. She was our costumer at the time, and her father actually cut out every one of our handrails in both theaters. in the one at Tanque Verde, and then also did the one at Broadway. He, with our bandsaw, cut out hundreds of our handrails. So it was that kind of work that got us going. And I don't know how many dump truck loads. There were probably 40 dump truck loads of dirt that we hauled out of there and built that theater, and away we went. I was paying $10,000 a month in rent. And it was just killing us. We didn't make any money. You know, everything we went to the landlord. And the Jerry Lewis Theater became available, and I thought actually initially I thought it was too small. But then Tom Benson, you know, genius, you know, he came up with the idea of putting in a balcony. So we added the balcony. So we went from 200 seats, which is what we had at Tanque Verde, to 240 seats at Broadway. And so we actually purchased that building. I have no idea how we got credit, why they extended me credit. I have absolutely no idea. But it happened, and so the Gaslight then took over its, you know, that would have been its fourth theater. The audience wasn't used to melodrama in Tucson. They didn't understand it, didn't get it, you know, and so we had to bring them along. You know, they matured as we matured in the theater biz, and now they get it, because it's always, it really is a day-to-day business. It is a difficult business. Everybody thinks, you know, oh boy, they're sold out all the time. But the work that it takes to be sold out, to sell those tickets, to work that hard, and it's such a labor-intensive business. You know, I mean, these actors are making their living here. All of my employees, we've got over 200 employees, so it's an expensive proposition. So it's not like there's a lot of money at the end of the day. And I'm in it because I love it. It's the best damn thing in the world, you know. I mean, I've never worked a day in my life. You know, I just play every day. It is absolutely the truth. I love coming to work, you know, 99.9% of the time. And there's a couple days that I'd love to sell the place, but it really is. It's just a wonderful thing. The one turning point that really saved us, I think, was when we hired Danny Griffith. And Danny was our first real honky-tonk piano player. We had used Molly Starr before that, and she was wonderful. Jim Burling, incredible piano player, lives in Colorado Springs. He and I toyed around with him possibly opening a Gaslight up there. But those were our great piano players, and Jim Burling and Rob Wright played together. But what really changed was we were able to hire Danny Griffith, who was the piano player at the Cripple Creek Melodrama in Cripple Creek, Colorado. And they're only a summer stock theater. So Jane Merrifield, who was an actress in the early days, still lives in town, wonderful lady. She convinced Danny to come down to us in the fall.
Cripple Creek, going on the run, going up to Cripple Creek to have a little fun.
People are going to come to Tucson, and they're going to go to Old Tucson, the Desert Museum, and the Gaslight. And that is exactly what's happened. The Gaslight is Tucson, right? That is what you do when you come here. The hottest thing to hit Tucson since Sunshine. That was his little spiel, right in the fact that Danny was so a rare gem.
Mr. Danny.
Now the Gaslight Theater proudly presents I Was a Teenage Wolfman.
An entity that was kind of not able to be duplicated. He always wore these vests, and I gave him a vest as a Christmas gift or his birthday gift. I had it made for him and had things put on it and a design and sequins. And because that was just Danny. He'd put on each night, he'd put on a different vest, and you know, all of a sudden he'd be, you know, the audience was there and it was like, you know, I mean, really, he just put on the show. And the pianists that play there now they're unbelievably talented. And Molly was unbelievably talented. And these women that play now, I don't know if there's any men, but I always see the women. They're amazing. Danny just sat there and his hands just hit the keys. It's like they almost seemed like they were flat. And he just did this, and he just honky-tonk piano like you've never heard.
Sir, I don't mean maybe, yes sir, that's my baby now.
In the fall and winter. And this guy, he's no longer around, but I'm telling you, he was a pro. He was he's the best honky-tonk piano player in the country, probably in the world. Max Morath and Danny Griffith. They were really the two unbelievable. And so he brought that professionalism to a bunch of kids.
It's called an 11 o'clock spot, and that's a vaudeville term, the 11 o'clock spot, which is a featured spot before the finale, the 11 o'clock spot. And he always had the 11 o'clock spot in the Oleos. So not only did he did the pre-show, he'd do the intermission, and then we do the Oleos. And then there was an 11 o'clock spot, which was Danny's spot before the finale. And what it really allowed him to do is do costume changes and do set changes for the finale. And it was Danny's solo.
He joined forces with us. That's when we really took that step, and I thought, you know, we're a professional company.
Other thing, we would have never made this. We'd have never been successful. And Eric will tell you this, without Danny Griffith. Danny Griffith was really, you know, the Mr. Piano, and he's as responsible for the success of the Gaslight as anybody. Supremely talented piano player, came from a background of underscoring melodrama from Cripple Creek, because he was the Cripple Creek pianist in Colorado, where they had been running melodrama for, I think, 10 or 15, 20 years at this point, long time, legit Victorian melodrama, and he was the piano player, musical director. So Eric and I show up, and Eric has written melody lines, but he doesn't write orchestrations or anything like that. He's writing melody lines, lead lines. He's not writing harmonies particularly or anything like that. So we plop down and hand Danny Griffith, you know, this lead sheet here, and here you go, brother. And he has to fill in harmonies and underscorings and, you know, because melodrama is known for creating, you know, it's like lots of cinema today, you know, they'll create motifs and repeating themes in different ways, you know, and so he did that. So he gives certain themes to performers, to villains, heroines. Lots of times he'd adapt a theme from one of their songs and make it their theme and would underscore them in places. He was brilliant. He was a huge part of the success of these shows. And he's the only one I worked with. He passed shortly after I left, and a huge loss. And he was a big part of that early success of the Gaslight.
You know, in the very beginning, we had piano and banjo. Yeah, Rob Wright, I'm telling you, he really brought his professionalism to us. And Molly Starr and Rob Wright were our duo. They were unbelievable.
Danny Griffith was probably the first really good professional player that I got to play with. I was young. I was 18 years old, I think, and so that was a treat. Tony washed dishes, and we painted the barn one time, and you know, would sweep the floors and all those things. And now they actually have people who do that. First opened the Gaslight Theater. It was brand new. Nobody knew what it was. So sometimes on the weeknights, the audience was very slim. Sometimes there might be 10 people, and so I always did the warm-up, the musical warm-up part, and then during the play I was off. So I would go back around. Tony, myself, his brother Tom, Garvin used to be there, some of his friends, and we would move around the house and make noise and clap and applaud. And then my father would get a call about twice a week to bring all of his friends to come down for free to watch the show. And he loved doing it because I was in it, but he said it cost him a fortune because he would come down and buy drinks for everybody for 2 shows a week sometimes at the beginning.
The team lost all of its games and came in last place. That's right. Out of 8 teams, we came in 8th. But it could have been worse. It could have been more teams.
Our pit band with Lisa and John, our drummer.
I started at the Gaslight in '92 as a pianist and then music director for about 12 years, and I've been back there for about 6 or 7 years now as a kind of switching off with Linda Ackerman.
So I read an ad in the Arizona Daily Star. They were looking for a part-time pianist, and so I answered the ad and I came and auditioned, and that's how it all started. Frankenstein, when David Fanning is larger than life and he's singing Pretty Darling or Oh Darling with the backups, and also in that movie, Lightning Striking Again, and the lightning's going everywhere. It felt like a real Broadway moment. And I don't mean Broadway and Cold, I mean real Broadway.
We're on Broadway. Oh, but we are. Broadway and Cold.
Teresa, the music director here before me. You know, she's a big influence, taught me a lot of the grooves and the tricks of the trade.
Teresa, okay!
He conceived this whole thing in the late 70s and started it up in Skagway, Alaska in a parking lot of a supermarket, and then, you know, brought it down to Tucson in a few different locations. And I mean, for a theater to be so successful, and, you know, knock on wood, he's been sold out like every night. And it's really fantastic, all that he's done. It's all because of his vision and because he's hands-on. He's the guy in there making the pizza right now. He's the guy filling the tables before we opened here in February. He's the guy that does everything. So if without him, I mean, he has 200 employees. I mean, he's done so much for this community and for actors to have a full-time job, for musicians to be able to make a living doing what they love, you know. That you have to have that vision and that passion and to stick at something for 40 years and to see it through all the hard times. You know, and he always puts the customers first. He always wants to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Clegg and I were in Troop 222 together. And that was our deal. And so that's how I met Pete. But Pete actually went to Saguaro High School, was a big star in their drama department, came and started acting with us, hired him right away as an actor. Mike Maines at that time was writing our shows with Eric Erickson. Mike lives in California. Eric is an attorney here in town. And they wrote a lot of our shows. That's when we really started writing our own shows. We tried for a while renting scripts, but it was never as good as what we wanted. And so Mike and Eric were tremendous. They wrote some great, great shows for us. I mean, great shows.
So we're going to start the show off with the human animal, but he missed rehearsal and we had to fire it.
And I had been a writer before that, but had never written a musical. And Eric Erickson was a good friend of mine and knew each other from college. And I said, I have this idea for this show. And I started just writing it. And the first thing that popped in my head was the thing that said Muley. And so I started writing this little monologue for Muley. And Eric and I started talking, and Eric said, well, I could write lyrics and music. I said, great. And so we sat down, and I think, you'll have to check with Eric, but I think it took us, I don't think it took us a month. I think it might have taken us 2 weeks to write that show. We holed up together, and I would write all the dialogue, and I'd lead into a song and say, Eric, we need a song that kind of does this. And he'd go away into his room and come back about, I don't know, an hour later and say, here you go. And I say, great. And I'd take out of that and we'd write something along and we'd scamper along till I said, now, Eric, I need something that does this. This is what we're doing. We had very similar tastes in musical theater and in theater in general and our backgrounds. And so we worked together fast and really well. So that became Dirty Deal to Lucky Lady or Muley's Tale. And that show got produced a number of times, and actually got a nod and consideration in New York for a run in New York.
Muley's Tale, which was just a great show. I think Eric wrote most of that deal, maybe Mike.
Just a little bit of magic.
Just a little bit of magic. So a little bit of magic, and that was written by Mike and by Eric. And I mean, original music, everything. Unbelievable. Helen Gregory was working with us at the time as a piano player, musical director. She wrote a lot of the music. Eric Erickson actually wrote, I think, most of the music.
And the reviewer said, you know, you always, when you see a Maines and Erickson show, you know, there's you depend on, you learn to anticipate and depend on things, and he appreciated the seamlessness, which I've always appreciated, that you go between dialogue, lyric, and that was just, I think that was Eric's talent and our partnership, because we just were in sync. So we never wanted to have anybody say, Michael wrote that, Eric wrote that, Michael wrote that. It never felt like that.
And walked in, and their auditions were going on, and the person auditioning was finished, and then the director stands up, and he's going to the next person. He turns around, and it's Michael Maines. And I hadn't seen Michael for years, And I think both of our jaws dropped to the floor. And so we talked about old times. And then I ended up auditioning, and I was there for about 2 years ever since. He says, you know, I've read through all these melodramas. They're all terrible, every one. And they were. And he says, I could write something better than that. I said, well, you should do that. And then I play a little bit. I'm very tiny little bit of guitar back then in high school. And I said, well, I can write a song. So I wrote a song. And we're going to do a Western because Westerns were very big. That's what they wanted. That's what Tony wanted, was a Western. So, you know, we're going to do a Western. So I had this sort of country Western kind of thing. And he says, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. And then, you know, we can put it here. And then he had an idea for a story. And, you know, he said, well, we need an opening number because musical. I said, yeah, this is an opening number like this. Yeah, do that. So I did the opening numbers. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then it just sort of fell into that. And the thing I loved about working with Mike was that we both knew what we wanted. We both grew up with musicals. And so we both knew how we wanted this to happen. And that's really kind of how it worked. I ended up, he said, a song goes here about something or other. I said, yeah, it does. Okay. And then I went and did it. What do you think about this? Yeah, it's not bad. And then pretty soon the show came together, and then another one, and then another one after that.
One of my favorites was a 50s Oleo, and he was my dance partner. And he's so tall, right? Eric is like so tall. And we had to do this thing, you know, the thing where you straddle, you know, swinging this way, and then you swing up. And so my legs going straight up. I was so far off the ground, and I was always sure I was just going to go, and go right back over. He goes, I've got you. And I went,
A boy's best friend is his mother.
I had directed several versions of A Christmas Carol. And Tony has a complete aversion to ever paying a royalty for anything. So everything had to either be public domain or we wrote them. You know, so that's how that kind of worked. But that show, you know, the inspiration for that show really kind of came from, if you believe it, so it's so. It's based on faith. That's the subtext of that show. It's all about faith. And that's the way we wrote it. And optimism in a bad time. And so we set it during the Depression. And the opening number that Susan Wedekind did is called Good News. And how there's a lot of bad news out there, but there's a lot of good news happening. And Eric wrote a terrific show and a terrific song there. And so John Brownlee, in one of the versions, I think we did it 5 times, played Mr. Big, I think, who was the villain. I believe that's who he played. Girlfriend Carla Young played Roxy. Always, every year, except for one version, she didn't play it.
Magic, yes. And Rex Toddy was Mr. Big. So, and you know, that was such a fun show. I mean, absolutely. I had a great time. Everybody did. And they even wrote some of the music.
A very sweet, gentle show about faith. And they had all believed that this device was that there was this magic music box that could grant wishes that Nicholas, who was this little waif who kind of befriended the owner, toy maker, and Mr. Tubbs. And Mr. Tubbs told her that this music box could grant her wishes, anything she wanted, you know, in this terrible time. And she believed it. And she believed it so much that these coincidental miracles would happen when she'd say that happened. And nobody believed they were happening, but they would happen. And so the whole summation was that, you know, if you're going to believe in something that's true outside of yourself, then believe it and it's true, right? And a faith piece. And so that's kind of how that show came about. One of Eric's best music, I think, best songs were in that show.
And I know the show that started it all for him was Under Two Flags, which was a melodrama that the U of A drama department did in the early 70s. And it had all the melodrama conventions, you know, the bad villain and the, you know, romantic hero and the love story and everything. Well, it was very popular. It was very popular with the audience. And I think that's the thing that got him thinking, you know, this kind of thing could fly in a different setting. Kind of the germ of what became ultimately the Gaslight Theater.
Ended up writing something like 13 or 14 shows for them. I guess I became the first artistic director for that theater. And we developed a genre. Typically, we played with, before I got there, they were playing with more classical Victorian melodrama. And Eric and I were writing melodrama that was really in the genre of kind of the 30s and 40s Hollywood heyday. So lots of good guys, really bad guys, but written in less stilted manner than Victorian melodrama was written in. So it was really sort of more recognizable, and some genres that were more recognizable. And that began a trend. You know, so we wrote detective shows. We wrote boxing shows called The Contender, which was a classic kind of old iconic fighter show in a musical. We wrote Buzz Corey, which was kind of a spin-off of Flash Gordon. Eric and I wrote a couple of shows separately. I wrote a Sherlock Holmes play, Lost Rose of Egypt, and he wrote, I think he wrote a Zorro show on his own. I would go back and forth to New York and direct, and some things I would direct. I wrote a show called, I think it was called Digger O'Day and the Lost City of Ice that Jack Wagner starred in. Anyway, just a long association of writing a lot of shows. And I eventually left the Gaslight and joined Disney as a show director writer for Walt Disney Entertainment, where I stayed for 13 years.
Skiing this year. Oh, you ski? Yeah, sure do. Are you good? Not very good, as a matter of fact, Joe. Last year, I broke my leg. Have a scar? No thanks, I don't smoke.
But it was just, they were a tremendous team. Then they were moving on. Mike was moving to LA. And so I found myself without a director and without a writer.
To Christ, headquarters.
Yes, director.
Good luck. Build the wheel.
And so I said, Pete, give it a shot. Are you ready? He said, sure. And so Peter Van Slyke started. I forget what his first show was, but man, that was 35 years ago. You know, probably 3 years into the deal, maybe 4 years into the deal. And Peter started writing, directing, and acting.
Peter took what the Gaslight Theater was, and he really changed it and developed it into the format that it is today. It's a unique format that is very entertaining, and we still not only use Peter's scripts, like tonight was one of Peter's scripts that Catherine and I took and adapted, but we'll continue to use his scripts for many, many years, so he deserves a big round of applause.
Where we were learning, we had a great director in Peter Van Slyke, and Nick Sievert also directed a lot and wrote. But Peter Van Slyke, I owe him so much for my career, because he wrote a lot of the vehicles that I was able to play leads in, and I was so fortunate to have played those characters, but more than that, to learn things from him, where he guided me through, and he made something that took a lot of effort seem effortless. All I had to do was listen to him. He just amazes me in how brilliant he really is, and when he tells me something to do, I do it. I listen to him because I trust implicitly. I owe him a lot, and I owe Tony a lot.
I'm one of the few remaining people who've been at all the theaters. I started at the original theater in Tanque Verde as an actor in 1974, 5, somewhere back in those days, 1976 maybe. Spent the summer there, and was in Frankenstein. There's some kind of spirit that each building and each place has maintained. There's just something about the feel of each of them. I mean, I, of course, remember very fondly the first theater that was so small, half the size of this, less than half the size of this. And when there probably were more people in the cast than there were in the audiences on a lot of nights. People don't remember that, except for me, when people are like, oh, the Gaslight, you probably has been this successful. It's sold out pretty much all the time now. But back in the day, we were playing to 10, 15 people in the middle of the monsoon season, and there'd be buckets everywhere, and the raining on the stage, and the audience, and the dressing rooms. Some things don't change. I think it's something that still happens, but back in the day, but the stage has always been the same, and a lot of the drops, it's fun to bring back some of those original drops every now and then. Like in the Western, there was a street scene in the Western that we used from one of the very earliest shows. And then the Christmas show this year, we brought back an old drop from, the Automat drop that we haven't used in a long time. I'm the only person who remembers all these old drops. Me and Tom Benson, obviously, too. And some of them, he doesn't even remember. I remember the shows and seeing the shows. Started, yes. I mean, it was just one of those things in the 70s that there were just a lot of really talented, I'm not including myself, but I mean, a lot of other very talented people, too many people to name. And there were not very many opportunities for acting in Tucson of any kind. And so there were a lot of U of A people for years and years and years at the Gaslight. Now they all come from other parts of the country, and then they all go off to wherever they came from, or LA or New York. So we don't really have too many LA people. Superhero show. And I remember when there really hadn't been a superhero show before, and people were like, wow, can we really do a superhero show? Can we do music from the 60s?
We did A Christmas Carol. He was the ghost of Christmas present, the big happy jolly ghost with the cornucopia of gifts. And so we did that a couple of times. But that was A Christmas Carol, not our version of Scrooge. We do Scrooge now. But I think that's the only show I was ever actually in with Peter. But he's basically a model of comedy that all of us follow. It's the double take. It's the fingers, the little letting the audience know how deliciously evil he is, having fun being a villain. He's just a very funny man. He's an excellent raconteur of stories, and you can just listen to him for hours. So Peter's just the best.
Can I try this? Or I'll do something and I'll be like, what do you think, Pete? And then he laughs and I'm like, I did it. To make him laugh, the gold medal, I did it. That's cool. Then it works, and I try to work with that.
Like an old cashmere sweater, if I say.
Peter has helped me a ton. He's always given me really good notes, especially in put in, but also he'll come and see shows every once in a while, or every time I'm on at least, and he'll always give me really good notes that I seem to forget. Simple notes just take your time, be confident in your character, be confident in what you're doing. A lot of the times, especially when you're new, starting out at Gaslight, you get so in your head, or you get really, excited that you're on the Gaslight stage, and then your lines are coming out really fast, or you think that you're not funny and you need to get off stage. And so him just telling me that you are good enough, you are funny, take your time and just, be on that stage and just listen and just play your part.
Much straighter, much more like a regular show. So we've kind of exploded that idea and kind of developed our own style. Songs now that don't have to be changed that much. I mean, we used to do more of that than we do now. Writing song lyrics is very hard. I mean, it's enjoyable. It's like a brain teaser, but and I don't mind doing that. But when you find yourself just writing reams and reams of song lyrics, then you're doing something wrong. I mean, there's maybe 2 or 3 songs maybe that need to be changed or modified, but I believe in trying to leave them more the way they were. But I mean, that's the way it starts. I mean, with writing a show, I start with outlining the scenery. That's the very first thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't understand. Writing is the last thing that gets done. You sit down and you figure out the sets, and you go, okay, I have 6 scenes. Every show has 6 scenes. We used to do 7 scenes, but then I was like, the shows were always too long, and they were all just kind of, it didn't work right until we shifted to 6 scenes. Until I shifted to 6 scenes, when I said, why am I knocking myself out for writing all these shows that are way too long? And for some reason, 6 works out perfectly. It's like 9 actors is the perfect number of actors, and 6 scenes are the right amount of scenes. So I make an outline, figure out what the scenery is going to be, what's going to be repeated, what we're going to use, what the big special effect is going to be in the second act. And then I outline the characters. Then I pick all the music. I create an outline using the music and who's in what songs. That will determine who's on stage at any given time. That determines the plot, which determines the writing, so the writing is the absolute last thing that happens. It was determined by the fact that I was writing and directing and acting, which I don't do that. It's bad for your mental health.
You look at the script and then you go, and Peter does this too, and this is why he's a genius. He'll write the script, and you read it and it's fine, but he knows as you're rehearsing this, as it goes along, you're going to put your own little marks on this. So he'll write a scene, and he'll know. He knows who he's writing for and what they're going to do with the role. So it makes it fun for us.
I was 10 years old, and I've been friends with him and his daughter forever. He's awesome. I really miss seeing him act on stage because he was so good on stage, but he's a great director. I love the way he writes, and not only that, but he's just like a wonderful friend. He's a wonderful person. He allows people to find their way. He doesn't give line readings. He doesn't tell people how to do their characters. He tells them what doesn't work. If they're going in a direction that he thinks isn't what he's going for, he'll tell them, no, try to find something else. But he never says, I want you to do it like this. I need you to do it like this. So it allows people to feel like they came up with something, and that gives them a sense of attachment to their character that I think a lot of actors lack when they're just told how to do something. So in that sense, I think he's a really great director. Also in the sense that he knows what works specifically for this stage. We don't use a lot of props. We're not doing a lot of busy work. There's a lot of, the stage is so small, and he treats it like what it is, which is basically a live action cartoon. So there's always movement going on, and he's very good at creating dimension with the actors on space, and it's a very small stage, but it never feels small.
Peter Van Slyke was also one of the actors on stage, so I'm one of the few people here that can say that they actually worked with him on stage as well. But I've worked with so many directors around the country, and he still is my favorite to this day. And I'm not just saying that. He's just, I know, it sounds like a line, but the brilliance that is Peter Van Slyke is hard to come by. I mean, he's an incredible writer, an incredible director, very smart, very understated. When he has something to say, everybody should shut up and listen, because that's when the brilliance really comes out. I mean, I've had roles where, you know, one day I was like, what am I doing? None of this even makes sense. I have no idea what I'm doing. And he'll give me one sentence of direction, and it changes everything. And it becomes, you know, one of my favorite parts. So Peter Van Slyke, he's a real deal. Crazy makeup on right now because I'm going to be playing an evil character in a little bit here. So I used to go to the Gaslight Theater as a kid. It was my favorite thing to do. I'm born and raised here in Tucson. And I remember that the little funny guy who I came to find out was Joe Cooper. He was always my favorite. Dave Orley, the guy with the eyes, Tim Gilbert, who isn't here anymore. And then all of those strong, like, female actresses were my favorite, and I looked up to them so much. And it was always a dream to work here, but I was an opera singer, so I knew that was probably never gonna happen. But right before I graduated my undergrad at the U of A, I saw an audition post for The Phantom of the Opera, which is, of course, a spoof of Phantom of the Opera. But I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. So I auditioned, and not only did they hire me to do that, but they hired me for their whole season, and I still can't believe it to this day. So I worked here as an opening actress while I was in grad school from 2000 to 2002. And then I moved off to New York. I was there for like 11 years doing off-Broadway and Broadway tours and touring for the USO as a singer. And I just moved back here a couple years ago, and this is the first place I came. CEO, but he doesn't like to be called that. He's a family man through and through. I remember when I started working here all those years ago, I was terrified of him. I was just like, I wouldn't talk to him. If I saw him in the hall, I would just kind of turn around and go the other way. But actually when I moved to New York and I would come back and visit and see shows, and once in a while I'd come do, you know, one show here or there, I became a lot closer to him and got to know him a little more once I wasn't so frightened. And he's a genuinely good person, family values. You know, the fact that this theater has been so successful for almost 4 decades, I think says so much of him as a businessman, but when you talk to him, that's not the first thing you think of. You don't think, oh, what a businessman. You just think, what a nice guy. And then he has all these great kids that he loves so much. He's just a good dude. I'm super happy to work for him. A lot of different roles here. Some of my favorites probably Belle in The Belle of Tombstone. I've gotten to play Christine in The Phantom of the Opera twice. Nat Man has always been a favorite. Nat Girl is the part that I like to play. Lately, though, I'm doing all these evil parts, as you can probably see from the makeup. So I'm really enjoying my evil laugh in all of these. Honestly, there's not any roles that I didn't love. They're all so different, so I think it's nice just constantly being challenged to try new things, and yeah, they're all great. Every town should be so lucky to have a Gaslight Theater. I mean, the way that my family describes it in coming here, they call it 2 hours of getting to completely forget all of your troubles and just laugh. And then you know, have free popcorn and beer on top of it. It's like, it's the best thing ever. I think we're just so lucky as a community to have this establishment, and I don't know, I feel like we should be spreading this love everywhere, but it's ours, so they can't have it. So that I guess every time my mom asked me what I wanted to do for my birthday, my answer was always, can we go to the Gaslight Theater?
Christmas of 2008, I got hired here to work in the Christmas show, and I've been here off and on ever since. Cronin, because I get to play Xena, Warrior Princess, and that's my favorite because I get to do that thing. And the roles in it are super funny. Like Mike plays this guy that he plays a different character every scene, and they're always hilarious. I liked Wizard of the Rings. I get to be a crazy witch in it, but I love the show. I thought that one was really great. Henry Porter, I wasn't in. I was choreographing it and production managing it, but I thought that show was really magical and it touched people in a really great way. But I think overall, just in general, my favorite shows here are the Christmas shows, because for me, that's the one that I saw as a kid, and it like, Gaslight means Christmas. Group of steps that we draw from, and I gleaned those steps working here as an actor. So we definitely always do step touches, grapevines, box steps, the basics, but I try to kind of switch it up every show. It's difficult though, because we have such a wide range of dancing skill sets. And everybody shines in a certain way, but it's my job to find how they can shine. And yeah, I think I'm getting better at it. As the more shows I do, the more I can pick and choose what I'm going to have certain people do, and I know what people are capable of, and everybody's a super good sport. The most important things about Tony is that, yes, he's the boss, but he's more than that. Like, he comes to my shows outside of the Gaslight.
Warms up at the Gaslight Music Hall, does a Janis Joplin show that is unbelievable. You know you got it if it makes you feel good.
helps promote other theater companies in town. He has a genuine love for the craft of theater. He studied it in school, and it shows. I mean, his top priority is to make sure that the shows that we're putting on are quality. He's always looking to make sure that the audience, it feels included, and we're providing something that they can escape from reality. He says it constantly. He wants to make sure it's wholesome entertainment, and he really believes in it.
I've had long pants on for 15 years.
I think that he's one of the first people I've ever worked with or for that has such a clear, defined sense of what he needs. And it's wonderful to work with because I can very easily say, nope, that's not the vision. This is the vision. So it helps me be able to work independently. And he's just a great boss. He really is. He wants everybody to be happy. He wants everybody to succeed. He lets people have freedom. He lets me do a lot of creative stuff that I just come up with, and he's always trying to help that build.
I might add to a bit or add a bit that maybe you'll get a laugh, and my staff is usually tolerant enough to at least listen to it. You know, I always tell Pete, I said, here, Pete, here are my notes, use them or not. And it really is use them or not.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, he's got the final call. And I may give some costume notes, although Renee she's really, I mean, she's been with me for years and years, but I think, you know, she really gets our style now. And there is a lot of comedy in our costumes.
Viral bailed some goods.
Oh, really? Where'd you get them?
Oh, just right over here at the Gaslight costume shop.
It's been a long time. I walked in, I was already studying arts and fashion design, and I was already sewing and working at a costume place. And then I happened to walk in. I was pregnant with my second child, and the lady that hired me was pregnant with her son, who's Tony's oldest son. So they're close in age. And I said, I can do costumes and stuff. Do you need any help? And this was way back in the Tanque Verde days. It was a much smaller operation. We didn't have a shop or anything, just sewing. So I worked from home. I got to work from home with my kids and make the costumes and help out and bring them in. And it was a smaller type of operation, I guess. It didn't have this whole shop. Out for Our Lady Liberty costume, see, out of this pretty stretch gold fabric for her costume. This is the old one we did like 5-6 years ago. It's a little worn out, it's called, which opens next week. So I got Shirley over here doing all of our wigs, and Sylvia had to drop what she was doing with our waitresses because she's got to do a quick project for Tony. We got Hannah, who's working on all the other.
Yeah.
Hannah's been pulling a lot of stuff. She and Amy back there. Amy's sewing stuff. Hannah's pulling a lot of shoes and all the costume extra pieces that we need for these actors to pull together. So we're getting near the final ends where we built a lot of stuff already, and now we're just finishing everything off.
So we're already doing stuff for the next show, so we never stop.
Timelines, try that we have still a lot to do, and we don't have much time to do it in. We have to have it all done by Wednesday night for a dress rehearsal, because that's when they do promotional photos as well, so we have to have everything ready by then. He is the man, but he's a great guy. He comes through, he lets us all do our job. He'll say his opinion if he needs to, or like, I feel like this should be like that, or he'll just let us know. He's very busy. He's in every single department, this one in the Oro Valley Theater, but he doesn't come around micromanaging or hanging over our heads all day long. He comes through and makes sure we're all, he just will insert an opinion if he feels like it. Like after dress rehearsal, he might come and say, I don't like this wig. Gives us notes like anybody else would. We get notes possibly from the director or whoever has some notes for us, and we just go from there. So he's really not in here micromanaging all the time, but he is here every day. There's always something where we're like, well, that wasn't meant to happen, but it worked out okay. We've had actors getting hurt on opening night. We've had female characters not be able to come in for whatever reason, and guys having to fill their place right away. We just go with it. Nobody in the audience even knows what went wrong. Things not work, things not, be the way they're supposed to be. I always say we go off of plan B. I make plan A, and then we go off of plan B.
And so she gets that now, and so really, my input is very little. Well, it's unbelievable. What a great staff we have in there. I mean, to have a retail costume rental store, that is busy, and also produces the costumes for, you know, the Gaslight and now the Gaslight Music Hall. It's just a tremendous workload. And these ladies they are so professional, they are so into it that they do it. I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every time. And this is building costumes, new costumes, pulling old costumes, designing new costumes. I mean, it is just unbelievable, the amount of work. But that's Carla, who's been with me for 30 years in the print shop. She's unbelievable. She is so many steps ahead of me. She, up here, she designed and had our program for Beach Blanket Bebop without anybody having to say, hey, we need a program. Here it is, Tony, it's done. The other night, we had some changes in our menu. She redid it on her own, had it printed, and ready for us up here. It's like, holy cow.
And I've raised my daughter here. He gave me the flexibility to allow to go get her from school, bring her here. We all bring our grandkids here now. They all come visit. He allows us to do our job and be creative. And he's just a great guy overall. He's a great boss. He's great.
So people like that, you know, really love what they're doing, and they love the Gaslight, and they love the whole deal.
He always says, hey gang, because he can't remember everybody's name.
No, and Garvin's a partner of mine, kind of a silent partner, wonderful man. I mean, it's a interesting story, but he started with me years ago at Trail Dust Town. I had actually hired his girlfriend, and Garvin, I remember I was emptying the trash one night, and this is at Trail Dust Town, so right when we started. You know, he volunteered, thank God, as a bartender. And he would come every night and bartend, just to be in the space, part of the whole thing. We needed to expand. He was there, and I think he loaned us $10,000 in the beginning, as well as Tom Benson's parents loaned us $10,000. Wow. And for that, I gave them a percentage of the company and paid back the money. And Garvin's been with us ever since then. He's was our photographer for many, many years, and he's there to help us in whatever we need.
I'd gone to the original Gaslight in Trail Dust Town. Then I started tending bar a little bit, and those were the days when there was no air conditioning. We had a metal roof on the original building. That was a feed store. The stage was the loading dock, and it just kind of got remodeled into what there was then. Probably the air conditioning was non-existent. It was just swamp coolers. So everybody we had sweat pouring off ourselves, but we all had a great time. We were trying to seat people, and I was looking around for them. I had people that I was trying to seat, but there were no seats. So I couldn't find them. And in somewhere in the background, I heard this wham, 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 wham. And suddenly he comes running out. He had gotten a few 2x4s and he built a bench to seat these people.
So when I was about 14 years old, I worked for a Little League baseball field, and I worked in the concession stand. And Tony happened to provide all the pizzas in the concession, as well as his children played. And so I talked to Tony 2 or 3 times a week, and he always said, when you turn 16, come get a job, come see me, I'll give you a job as an ice cream girl. Well, I didn't quite go when I turned 16. It took me about another 10 years. So I was about 26, and I went and I got a job in the box office. And the first day back in seeing Tony, I said, hi, Tony, do you remember me? And he said, yeah, take out your nose ring, like immediately. And I was like, okay, so that's how you are as a boss.
I remember that. Oh my God. At, McDonald Park.
Tony Terry had more drive than any one human being should be allowed to have, and kept going no matter what, and nothing would slow him down.
Well, because it's family oriented. I think that's number one. People can come and they can forget their troubles. We're lucky. I had a dinner theater for a little while. It was called the Tucson Stage Company. And we did some great shows. But regular theater is difficult because if you do a musical, everybody loves a musical, they'll come. If you do a comedy, maybe they'll come. If you do a serious show or you know, a suspense, whatever it happens to be, people might not come. So you kind of segment your audience. The nice thing about the Gaslight is that people know every time that it's going to be 2 hours of entertainment and laughter. People will call up and make reservations, and then they'll ask, oh, by the way, what's playing? You know, and it really, I mean, that's the magic of the whole deal. That it really doesn't make any difference what's playing. What makes
to teach one of Tony's sons drums, so I got to know Tony fairly well. He's just a great guy, and I love how he runs his business. He's just a model small business owner, you know, a real icon in Tucson.
Cost synergy or revenue synergy, he'd see this. So for example, here's a theater. Well, I can open a pizza parlor that'll settle the theater. Oh, by the way, I've got a lot of costumes hanging around the closet. What if I start a costume rental shop? Well, Tony doesn't like paying for anything, really. And so he said, well, wait a minute. What if we go out and we buy a printer, we print our own? I said, okay, let's do that. Well, then we had to go out and find somebody who knew how to run this old printer to print this thing, and we did that. And we got a printer, and I think we got a copier, and we said, we're a print shop. So then we became a print shop. And that synergized, you know, as well. So it was really classic synergy off of kind of your core business model, and they cross-promoted.
Tony's passion and drive and vision, you know, he is such a humanitarian, giving back to Tucson, giving to people, hiring, you know, employees that, you know, it's all about people. And so when he started this whole thing, I think the germ of the idea was certainly what drives an entrepreneur or an initiator, developer type person is that germ of an idea, but then it got so much bigger with him. And it was opportunity. It was opportunity to bring something to Tucson that just didn't exist. And the vision was that it would be here forever, and it is. And I hope it goes on and on and on. I mean, Tony is so tired, and I pray and pray that somebody will come and take that and do it for him and take it over. But it's such a monstrosity with the two businesses now, and it takes so, I mean, the restaurants and I mean, it's just endless. You know, and then he did the costume shop, and then he did the print shop, and he did the pizza. It's like pepperoni! What an entrepreneur does, right? And the bike shop, of course, the bike shop, because Tony was such a cyclist.
You know, we started doing pizza in the theater, and he wanted to do ice cream and sandwiches, and so he got a bunch of ice cream and made me a big old cone, and I would walk through the house in the theater, and people would say, hey, where did you get that? And I said, well, they sell it here. But so I got free ice cream out of it, and he got some sales out of it. There's a 12-year-old kid running around with ice cream cones, and people going, hey, where did you get that?
And I'm telling you, it worked every night. You know? I'd say, hey, Dave, come here. Here's your free ice cream cone. Go walk around. And he'd walk through the audience, and then we'd be selling ice cream, you know, and that was it.
I got a break in 1993. Dave Sullivan was an actor that worked here. And I worked with Dave at another theater here in Tucson. And he was going to be best man for a wedding. This is before we had understudies. And needed one night only for me to step in and fill this role so that he could be at Dave Darling, our lighting designer's wedding. He was going to be the best man. So I learned the show and the oleo for one night only. Absolutely, yeah. It was October of 1993. It was Arizona Smith and the Lost Temple of Time. And we did a laugh in oleo, and that was the beginning. And then I was understudy after that. We worked here. Peter Van Spike.
The poor and defenseless.
Do you mean to say you dropped the cheese?
Fly with me, let's fly away.
Dave's been around probably for 20 years, though. He's just, you know, a wonderful actor, you know, and a handsome guy.
It's called a buddy picture. You'll get used to it. Yeah, Freak, we're buddies.
Has a great following in Tucson, and wasn't very good when he started with us, you know. Didn't have a big background, but has always been up for it, up for the challenge, and he's tremendous. He's one of our biggest stars.
Got involved at the Gaslight in the winter of 1993, I think. A friend of mine called me up and said, I'm going to audition at the Gaslight Theater, and would you come with me for moral support? And I said, sure. And I was moving furniture for a living at the time. I said, yeah, I'll just go along, and then figured, well, as long as I'm going there, I might as well audition, sing something. And it was a Christmas show. So she did her thing, and I went there and I sang Blue Christmas from Elvis Presley. Not knowing, because that's the only song I had the sheet music to. I don't know why I had the sheet music to it, but I had it. And didn't know if it was in the right key. Didn't know anything other than how Elvis Presley sang it. So gave the music to Lisa Ote, and she was just starting out. I think it might have been her second or third show there. And thank goodness for her, because she followed me. Who knows where I went. I think I got the lyrics right. I don't know about the melody of the tune, but I was loud and I was having fun. And so I got the call. So would you like to be in our show? And I was very lucky, because there were never any openings, but fortunately there was a guy who was leaving for a show, and I fit right in. And at that time there were no understudies at all. We had no understudies, maybe because we had Mondays and Tuesdays off. We only did one show on Sunday, but this is back over 25 years ago. Understudies were unheard of at the time, and it just went from there. To go through a show as Joe standing right there, it was tough, but he kept me in line, and he liked me, I think.
Wait, look there. No, oh God.
Which made it a little bit easier on me, but some of my favorite roles, I love Frankenstein. I love putting on the makeup. Now I say that. Get me in the middle of a run where I have to take it on and off 2-3 times a day. Fortunately for Frankenstein, he does not make an appearance until the end of the first act. So you have all that time. So you're thinking, oh, he's back there just doing nothing. Well, no, the whole time I'm back there putting all this stuff on, and I get ready just in time to go on.
Love to watch David Fanning and his Will Rogers lasso. A magic kind of chemistry for me with Dave, who, as everybody knows, is a charming, wonderful human being and a very, very sweet and honestly one of the nicest guys in the world. And I look with fondness on all of the times I had the opportunity to play opposite Dave. It was just a joy. He's a dear friend, and he will always be one of my favorite leading men.
The time of my life.
Well, thanks to Tony, I have a career. Thanks to Tony, I am famous within a half-mile block of the Gaslight Theater here. I could walk into Sweet Tomatoes and somebody go, oh, you played this or you played that. And I appreciate it. I live in New York now with my wife. We have a farm upstate New York. And one time Linda Ackerman, the piano player, was visiting her daughter in the city. So I said, well, let's meet up. So we met up, we had dinner or something, and we're walking down the street in New York City. Somebody's walking past us who goes, we like your work at the Gaslight Theater. Both of us were blown away. Both of us just go, wow, this is far reaching. Another time I was on a ski lift in, I think it was Heavenly, in Lake Tahoe. And you're in the gondola and you start talking to people, and so we're from Tucson. Oh, well, I was stationed at Davis Monthan. And so, well, I worked at the Gaslight Theater. Oh, well, yeah, what have you seen? Well, I saw Nat Man. Well, that was me. You know, things like that. Those are kind of neat. And that's because of Tony. He took a chance on me because I'll be completely honest. When I started, I was pretty awful. Oh, because every time you come here, you have fun. Every single time. As an employee, as an actor here, no matter what's happening outside, no matter what, that all goes away once you're here. Always, all the time. Because in the last 25 years, things have happened in everybody's life that aren't great. But there's not been one single day in the 25 or so years that I've been here that I did not look forward to coming here. Not one day. Not one. And I can't say that about any other job. In fact, I try to get here early just to take it all in.
You know, some roles are actor-proof, according to Marlon Brando. Shrek in Space Trek was an actor-proof role. It was so well written, nobody could have screwed it up. Why is that? Because we had two incredible writers, Rich Prouty, Cameron Martin.
And then to see the newcomers, like they were newcomers when I was there, like Mike Garima, Todd Thompson.
Hey, I love Captain Kangaroo. Let's do that again sometime.
Hey, nothing in front of the guys.
I guess the biggest way that Tony Terry's affected my life is that he sort of made this possible. He made this thing possible, this whole creative process possible that, you know, I don't even know if he knew what it would be, you know, and where we are now is kind of special, and he influences, obviously, what happens. I think this place is really exciting because the Gaslight Theater has kind of changed, and the style of the theater has changed over the years. It's gone from, you know, there used to be more lines and less songs. Now there's been more songs added to the productions.
Their tongue, because they don't know the words. Oh, yeah, you ought to know. I got a $20 gold piece, so there ain't nothing I can't do.
It is, you know, we do so many shows now that, you know, it's hard to remember them all. But, you know, some of my favorite parts are the ones that are, I think when I first started, I got character roles, you know, because I couldn't sing very good. And then they would try to, you know, well, he's going to be useful, but we'll put him in the back. So I actually liked those character roles a lot. Later on, I started to become the hero roles and stuff almost out of necessity because we didn't have anybody else. But if it were up to me, I would play the weird character roles because those are the ones that speak to me more. Because when I would go to the Gaslight and see the guys up there, my heroes were, you know, Peter and Joe and Tim Gilbert and the character actors, and they were always the funny guys. And so I always wanted to do what they did. So whenever I get one of their parts, I actually try to do it in the style of those actors, which is, to me, very important because I want to keep their style alive, you know, even if they're not performing there anymore. So I actually have a lexicon in the back of my head where I pull out, well, this is a Peter part, so I pull out his mannerisms and stuff. Or this is a Joe part, so I'll do stuff that Joe might do, like forget his lines on purpose and stuff like that. And so that's kind of that's where I find, like, you know, where I have the most fun. And not that we wouldn't have fun doing a hero part, but hero parts are you know, very important because they keep the story moving, and you have to have them to make the play legitimate, especially in our style. But they're not always the most thankful roles because, you know, getting a cheer is just as important as getting a boo, but getting a boo or a laugh is a lot more fun.
Is that the best you got? Come on.
Time we were doing The Three Musketeers, and Mike Garima was playing King Louis at the beginning of the show, and he did this little thing where he would do this little kick, and, you know, he's in the full French King Louis garb and makeup and the cane and everything, and he did this one kick, and his shoe flew off during this kick, hit the rafters in the ceiling, and no one saw where the shoe went, and then actually landed back on the drum set. It hit the crash cymbal, and then and landed literally in my lap. It was like a Hail Mary kick. It was incredible. I will never forget that.
Boo! Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hey, well, don't damage it.
Get ready for our date this weekend. I went to the beauty salon.
The art of karate! My hands are trained to weapons. Take this!
Yes, I, Prince Charming.
One of the guys he is the guy who married Erin and I once we got together. But Mike and I's relationship's been, I'd say 10 years old now, and actually he went to a high school, we graduated the same year and we didn't even know each other. We had a couple of close friends who were in between schools through church and stuff for me, but I never knew Mike I moved here in 97, so we graduated in 98. But I never knew him this entire time until, we started hashing old stories and being like, we should have been friends years ago. By watching the best, Mike and I did. We came into the Gaslight during an era where Armin Durtadian was working here, Joe Cooper, Dan Gunther, James Gooden, Nick Sievert. I got to work with a couple of people I never got to work with. But we got to learn in an era where a lot of the people who made Gaslight what it is today, the style of theater, I mean, you could say it's melodrama. I call it musical comedy, farcical melodrama, because it involves so many of those things. It's a hodgepodge, it's like one of those progressive arts. It's not just pure melodrama, it's so many different things now. But Mike and I, we got to see things and learn from the people who made this place what it is. That's where Mike and I get our chemistry from. And, as an actor, you really have to listen to what those guys have to say. You really have to be attentive. And they were great mentors for Mike and I, especially in that, pivotal generation, when Mike and Robert Shaw and I were all just kind of came to the same place.
We're doing a little more involved musical review shows at Old Tucson Studios. The Gaslight was looking for an Elvis type, and so I actually did an Elvis song in the show at Old Tucson, and Tony and his family had happened to be out there one day, and the general manager caught it, and so we had a few conversations, and there I was working at the Gaslight Theater doing Hot Rod Lincoln, which was the Gaslight's treatment of an Elvis movie. Just affects great and small, both personal and professional. Professionally, I think one of the things that I've carried with me the most, that's really served me well, especially as I've gone on into the concert world and other productions like $1 Million Quartet, is I don't know if there's a better training ground for learning how to think on your feet and engage the audience than the Gaslight Theater. I've never been through the Groundlings classes or anything like that, so I'm sure they're pretty comprehensive, but this is like that, but you're learning in front of the audience. You don't get a chance to fail, or if you goof around or you bomb, you're bombing for 250 people. So you kind of learn to adapt and you figure out what works, and you develop that style. And one of the things that's so unique about the Gaslight is you can be literally the most talented person in the world, singer, dancer, actor, but if you don't understand that melodrama style and that improvisational nature of the medium, then it doesn't matter. You'll sink. I mean, it's its own art form. And so the things that I gained from learning that art form served me to this day. I mean, in conversation, on stage, if something goes awry, or just that little one-liner quip just comes a lot faster than it ever would.
Robert and I would switch off playing the good guy most of the time, so the rest of the time it was always fun to play opposite Robert's heroes, just because I like being a bad guy.
To the Gaslight, there's a bad guy. Oh no.
Having Robert out there doing his debonair thing, and the ladies just loved it. So getting to let, the fun thing about Gaslight is letting other people shine too. Making sure that when they're saying their lines and doing their role, you really let them get to delve into it. And it's, for me, it's all about enjoying what everybody on stage is doing. That's where, I don't know, it's an open, fresh chemistry.
Harvey's
It can be tough trying to get people to cheer all the time. It can be difficult to, go out there and do some of the action and some of the fighting and all the dancing. I try to limit myself so that when I go out there, I'm usually at least 95% vocally and physically giving the audience what they want. You can't go overboard. Although during Christmas season, we do 3 shows a day, every day. Hey, but that's Christmas money. That's what we call it.
Up like axle grease and machismo.
Listen.
You got to be careful around here. One time I was doing a knife fight and just like a flurry, and I slipped of a big sword. It was a big saber, and the sword slipped out from out of my hand, and somehow flew behind my back, and I caught it with the handle just randomly. These are all bad stories, because they're just dangerous things. Like, we like to twirl the guns during the Western, and every now and then, you're in, the audience is right there, and it's a nice sized gun that is, it's a great replica, so you can actually twirl it really nice. And sometimes it slips out of your hand, and whether you catch it or not that's a different story. Aaron saw me. We were doing Back to the Past, our Back to the Future show, and in the first couple of scenes, I have on like a bald cap and like a big, jumper with a fat suit underneath. Little did she know I wasn't going to need that 4 years later. And she saw me, and she said she saw my smile, and she knew that I was going to be hers, is what she said. That's what she said, so.
Exactly what I meant. Funny, I like you. All right, let's go.
She just saw, and in a bald cap and a fat suit. And then she said she heard me sing, and that was it for her.
You're adorable, aren't you? Yes.
And a fat suit and a bald cap. He was the bad guy, and he was singing.
Born to be bad.
And I literally was like stopped in my tracks on the way to finding my table, and it was that stupid like, what's that? And then anyway, and then I basically just stopped him for a good month of rehearsal, and well, yes, he thought I was dating someone else, and so I one day said, hey, let me give you my phone number in case you all go out sometime, like, I'd love to come. And so I texted him about a week later. I said, so when are we going to go get that drink? And he wrote me back and said, oh, I don't think anybody's going out tonight. And I said, no, I meant, when are we going to go get that drink? And he said, after that text, he knew that we had to get married and be together. So, and then about a year and a half later, we got married. So I was Scrooged, and I was Beatrice Sniveling. And I had this huge beehive wig and was still the shortest person on stage. So the sight gag works really well for me. Yeah, that was my first one. And then I just kind of lucked out. It was only a year and a half, maybe 2 years later, that an opening spot came about, and I was ready for it. Joe Cooper likes to do this thing to newbies, where if you're in the wings with him and you have to enter with him, he'll just shove you out way before you're supposed to be there by yourself. So as this brand new little actress, I'm standing in the middle of a scene that I had nothing to do with yet, and just had to kind of like make my way back, and he's laughing just like you are.
Erin, I'm right here, yes. Great, okay. I'm so sorry, trying to figure out where we were. Well, Candy, hi, there you are, and here we are.
Like in this show, I get to kick her off of me and stuff. In the last show, I got to call her a chihuahua on stage, and it's fun for the audience to see that kind of thing, because they know we're married, but we like, getting at each other and razz each other on stage. So I think it's fun. It's fun for us. I mean, it's fun. It's great to have my spouse sitting backstage with me, because I get back rubs quite often.
My card, Randall J. Patterson, special assistant to the mayor.
Eagles and now I was so happy for Eagles and Eagles and now I was so happy for Eagles and
And Henry Porter, and that was super fun. And I played a female robot named Zarfixius in Space Wars. And I guess she would be the antithesis to C-3PO, or not C-3PO, who was just sassy and had great songs, great outfits. Hermione was definitely fun because it was the first time we've ever done it. So really cool to originate a role, you know. That's why Jacob Brown and I have the same voice, because we both sing soprano the same way Lisa taught us, so.
I also grew up watching these shows. My first show was back in 2000, and I was in middle school. I was in middle school, and at the time, the drama teacher at my middle school was Armin D'Artagnan, who was an alumni here. He got our class to come see a show, and it was Zero Rides Again. And what was great about it was just like, it was the funniest show I had ever seen. I was way up in the front. He was the hero. He was playing Zorro. All the jokes were funny. I got to see Peter Van Slyke also, and a lot of the old cast, the people who got it started, pretty much were like, you know, still a part of it and everything like that. And ever since then, I've just been hooked. And every year we try to get tickets. With me and my family, we just could not stop laughing. But Zorro was the first show I did, and to see the shows and everything like that. And it was really funny because one of the actors here, who was a friend of mine, who was doing other shows. I was doing other shows around town. She said, "You should come audition for the Gaslight." I'm like, I'm not funny enough for that. I can't do that. There's no way. And she kept pestering me long enough to the point where I was like, "Just go and audition." I'm like, "All right, I'll go audition." And I didn't think I was gonna get it, and I knew I wasn't gonna get it. And they called me back. They called me back and said, "Would you like to be a part of the show?" And I was like, "Of course, yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I would love to be a part of the show." And I've been here for 5 years now. Parts was like, we did Henry Porter, and that was just a joy to do because it was my first lead role, and I was so happy to play Harry Potter, our version of Harry Potter, and it was really cool. That was a dream come true. I was like, to do a lead.
Henry, we'll be an Eagles together. All along with me, 'cause it seems I'm from a wizarding family, and maybe if I do this right, the sorcery sphere is within my sight.
Hey, you know what? You should be on Broadway. Oh, but I am. Broadway Hall. It never gets old, does it? After 400 times telling you. Take it along, yes, righteous! Pose for dress rehearsal camera. Hey!
You got to come and audition for the Gaslight on the East Side. And I had never heard of the Gaslight, never seen a show or anything. And then, so I came to a show, loved it. After I was cast, I went and auditioned and got cast. My first role was understudying Todd Thompson as Moose in Beach Blanket Bebop. It was really fun.
Yeah, hey everybody, check out these moves. The woodchuck. And this is the copper tone.
We had a great time. I was very intimidated. Like Todd was a big icon here, and Mike was a big icon, but they were really nice and took me under their wings and and helped me out. Where I feel like we play a character, and then part of it is a little bit of us. We can let a little bit of us shine through in every character, which you should do in regular plays as well. But here you can genuinely be yourself in moments in our shows, you know, and the audience loves that. They love it when we kind of are ourselves, you know. My first role as Moose, I get to ask out the girl, and one of my, I messed up a line or something, and I was like, hey Bob Ryan, you want to come with me to the dance or something? And then everybody, I kind of slipped up my line, and I was like, she's got to say yes, people, it's in the script. I mean, I was really nervous about saying it, but it worked because of the theater that we work at. Shows. So, Spider Guy.
I'm Spider Guy!
Back to the Past, I got to play a Marty McFly character, you know, fantastic. And that show, is kind of structured a little bit differently. It was like a lot of me. Like I set up everything and then everybody else got like punchlines and stuff. It was a lot of work, but it was great work. A member of our audience is our family. You know, like it's part of the community, and the community has exploded it outward. Because Tucson is where people come to like retire, they bring their families and they come and they fall in love with the Gaslight. I greet in the greeting line, and whether it be somebody that's come here for 39 years or 40 years, or it's someone coming for the first time, like we win them, they'll be back.
Put your hands way up in the air, wave them around, go woo! So that our servers over here can find where you're sitting and bring you your very own free birthday ice cream, a cone. It's their 40th anniversary. Heard about these all-you-can-eat buffets they have here in Las Vegas? Have you heard about these? In this very casino, they have all-you-can-eat popcorn. Can you imagine that? This is more. I said, this was father. Me and my stand up. What do you call it when you walk into the same coffee shop day after day? Deja vu.
We had a little piece of paper to read a bit of the scene from the next show. So I did the character work, and then it was time to sing the song. So I look over at Linda, and she says she's ready to go and that she's going to play the intro. Okay, great. So she plays the intro. I nail the song and get a call back for the next show, which was Back to the Past. Brand new show here at the Gaslight. So not only get to work in a brand new show at the Gaslight, but I got to understudy Joe Cooper, which that's a tough act to follow, let me tell you. Joe Cooper has all these tricks and all these jokes in his bag that he can just pull out at random, you know, from years of doing this. And here comes little old me, who I have seen almost every show since 1982, 83. So I knew what the Gaslight style was. I just didn't think I would be quick enough to pull all of those little tricks out of the bag. Each show, each audience is just a little bit different. You have to know what you can pull out of the bag and give to the audience. So 2012, I think, was the year I auditioned. My line was a cue for other people to come in. Well, they wanted to get me for whatever reason one night, and nobody came in. 3 or 4 times throughout the show. So I'm out there standing, delivering my line, waiting for people, and they're standing off in the wings, deliberately not coming on to make me have to stretch the scene and invent more stuff and come up with more stuff and interact with the audience. And I can see them over there laughing and losing it, and I'm out there and there's nothing I can do. I can't go over and drag them on. So I just have to wait until they decide they want to come out on stage.
Well, you know, I'm gonna give it a shot. I haven't auditioned for anything that was like in town that was legit and professional. So I challenged myself. I'm like, this is for you, Nay. Like, just do it. Just try it. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody knows that you're there. You're going by yourself. Like, just try it. And I went in and I messed up really bad.
Now, I'm Lavinia Appleford.
They asked to do 16 bars of a song, and so I just learned like the 16 bars of my favorite things. And that's when the dogs bite, when the bees sting, you know, like when I'm feeling sad. Like, that's all I knew. I feel so bad. Ba-dum-bum-bum. And Linda Ackerman, the musical director at the time, was like, that's great, like, just go ahead and sing the whole song. I'm like, you know what? I can sing that part for you like a bunch of times, but that's all I learned. But like, here we go, a 5, 6, when the dogs bite, you know, just sing it over and over again. And I think that might have made them laugh, and I think I made Peter laugh with one of his questions that he asked, that it redeemed my horrible, horrible audition. And I was hired. I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, at least you tried, Nay. I was super proud of myself. Greta, I loved Greta. I love character parts. I really like to get into being weird and odd, because I'm weird and odd. I really loved Belladonna, because that was like super dark. That was in Henry Porter. And I loved being Fifi because she was French. Like I like anything that's kind of out of the ordinary for what my mold is. One time we were doing a Freedom League and we're doing Fighting for the USA, and he asked me like scat or something, like to like do out of nowhere, because it's just like a dance break, and we're like, all right, like doing the thing. He's like, take it, Lady Liberty. He's like, a scuba doo bop. Like my eyes were like the size of saucers, just trying to like make it work, and it was so bad.
I'll break this like that's all. I'll bring it out. You started to watch that. Actually took this going on.
So I came in, and the first show I understudied was Three Musketeers. It was 2006, and I was under Mr. Rob Lawson playing Porthos the Pirate, which I ended up, I had the honor of opening in 2012, the Three Musketeers, and had a blast. And you can see the cutout up there on the balcony of the front of the theater. You know, it's been 15 years now, going on 15 years here, and I've just been able to cut my teeth in all kinds of genres of music. That's a big thing here, a perk that we get to do. Not only 70s disco, but you're doing 50s doo-wop, you're doing 60s, you know, soul and Motown. Closest thing to, you know, a Los Angeles or a New York dream, but ends up becoming your home, you know, and it becomes not only your home, but your playground to come in and experiment and do everything. I mean, through him, I've been able to produce multiple shows. Because of him, I've been able to have the liberty to produce late night shows, late night cabaret shows. Fuse things together, fuse ideas. And because of him, I was able to hold about 2 years or about a year and a half of very important fundraisers for my family when my sister came down with brain cancer back in 2011, 12, and 13. And then shortly before her death, my dad came down with his lung cancer. So the support that has been here, I mean, it's everything. It's family, and so, you know, they extend an arm. They take care. I remember everybody got together for one Christmas and pitched in for my sister to get an iPad, and Tony put up the difference, and that was everything for her because she wasn't able to get out of bed. She was immobile, but she was able to play on this iPad, Generation 2 back then, or Generation 3, whatever it was. But it was vital, you know, for her sanity, her, you know, her self-entertainment, and I think, you know, for her joy in the last few months, especially as a 27-year-old, you know. So
a historic venue because it's been around for a long time. People that have come here will swear that it's been around for 100 years, only because it seems like it has become such a part of their family that they can't think of ever not coming to the Gaslight Theater.
But there's a lot of, I know that it's a safe environment up there. If I were to really start struggling, they would come out and, you know, we would be fine in the scene. There are a lot of little tricks that we play on each other. For example, you can get hangered. You might be ready to go out for your scene, and someone ever so subtly will slip a coat hanger onto the collar of your costume or onto the belt of your costume, and you'll be out there unbeknownst to you, but of course the audience can see this hanger just hanging off of you when you turn around. Armin, we were doing a pirate show here 2 years ago. Armin pulled his pirate coat out of his place, slipped it on backstage, and inadvertently a hanger fell off of the rack and wedged itself between the back of his coat and his pirate belt. Nobody did it to him, but nobody took it out either. So he went on stage with a coat hanger in his back, did the whole scene, wondering why everyone is laughing at him during this very serious, angry pirate scene. There's also, when we wear cowboy hats, sometimes someone might walk out on stage and there might be a sock hanging on top of the cowboy hat, because you can't really feel when somebody gently lays a sock.
Things where you go, well, now what do I do? I'm stuck out here. Somebody put a hanger in back of me or a sock on my shoulder. What do I do with this now? What am I supposed to do? So you're just kind of left hanging out there. And so you take it off, you throw it off, and continue to do what you do. But
And I hate all of you. We hang around here, you know? I just wrote a poem.
I like leaving little signs that the audience can't see. Right now we're doing Natman and there are 2 computer consoles. And the angle of the console is set so that nobody in the audience or the mezz or anywhere can see what's on that console except the actor that stands in front of it. So one night, Todd is supposed to go up and do something on the console, and I found a picture of him dressed up as the bad guy from Spider Guy, and I just stuck that on the console for him. Or it might be a note saying, hey, don't mess this scene up, or, you know, try not to laugh, or a really, you know, a bad joke.
We start rehearsals in the day from like 1 to 5 p.m., 1 to 4 p.m. And then we have a little bit of a break, and then we have to come back because we have shows in the evening. So we're kind of technically doing like 2 shows a day for a good while. And you do that from like Tuesday to Saturday. And sometimes Saturday, sometimes all the way to Friday, you know. It depends on like if we have like a matinee on a Saturday, then we can't have rehearsal until like next week or stuff like that. But we do that for a month. And it's a lot of work. It can be a little bit stressful because it's just, you know, you're trying to learn one show, but you're doing the other show, and sometimes you'll mix up stuff from the new show.
Use your mind and they never give you credit.
And we'll get a picture of the cast and crew real quick, and then we'll do the oleo, and then we're done.
Own special kind of time. Normally what happens is we'll do a rehearsal in the afternoon from whatever time. The opening actors will get up and spend the majority of the rehearsal time rehearsing, and then at the end, if there's any time left, the understudies will get up and rehearse. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, depending on who you're understudying. And so you have to sit out in the audience with your script and memorize all of the movements, all of the inflections, so that when it's your time to get up there, you're not wasting anybody else's time.
But my favorite part about this place is I get to work in an environment where my children can come see the shows. And it's not something that I would be embarrassed of.
True virtue and super awesomeness and gorgeous hair like me. On Netflix!
It's fresh every night. You know, we do 100 performances of every run. And the actors, you know, how they ad-lib as it goes along.
The necklace. When Dr. Steele, I'll shave his head. I'll shave it all mine.
Musically, we ad-lib too. So it's like a fun comedic interplay back and forth between everybody, and the show just evolves. Some people see the show 4 times, so they can see it in all of its evolution. Something that people could bring people from out of town. They go out of their way to celebrate their birthdays there, their anniversaries there. They, you know, it's become something the kids grew up watching it, and now they're in the shows. You know, so it's like a generational thing that it's really important to the community. You know, it's like a family. You know, they know that they're going to go and laugh and just enjoy themselves and have great food. Come over here, get in the picture. We're having a documentary talking about you, how wonderful you were.
The team is unbelievable. I'm telling you. I mean, I'm a guy that works hard. That's it. It's always kind of been my motto, you know, I don't think I'll ever fail. I always feel like I can work my way out of anything. All I have to do is work harder. You know, Tony, it's falling down around you, but if you work harder, you can get through this. And that's kind of been the way I've approached this business for 38, almost 39 years now. You know, we used to do 5 shows a week, Wednesday through Sunday. We were getting more popular, and I knew I could sell 2 shows on Friday and Saturday, but I had to talk my actors into doing 2 shows. You know, this is uncharted ground. Nobody was doing back-to-back shows in Tucson. Nobody. Just never happened. You know, you'd do your 5 shows or 4 shows or 3 shows or whatever it is. And so I went to the cast and said, hey, I can sell these other shows. We're going to do a 7 and a 9:30. That was back in the day. That's what the times that it went. And I'll buy pizza and feed you guys between shows. And that was the deal. So I used to go across the street at Tanque Verde to Pizza Hut. And I would run across the street, you know, not drive, but I'd run over there. I'd buy the pizzas, bring them back for the cast in between shows. And, you know, I'm a cheap bastard. I'm thinking, I bet you I could buy a pizza oven and save some money. So I bought my first pizza oven. We put it in our shop, in our wood shop. Made a little spot there, and started. I used some frozen dough. It was terrible pizza, but it was cheaper than the Pizza Hut deal. You know, after a while, people, you know, I'm thinking, I bet you I could sell this to the people inside. And so we started selling pizza inside the theater. And then, you know, people would say, hey, can we pick it up? Do you deliver? And then I'm thinking, man, that's a great idea. So we started, you know, pick up pizza and delivering pizza, and came up with the name of Grandma Tony's Pizza, and Grandma Tony's was off and running.
We're going to start delivering pizzas out of this pizza space that we're servicing the theater with. And said, wow, well, sell more pizzas. Okay, great. And we're going to deliver them in these old classic vehicles I own. And then he went out and bought some video house, when, you know, like a Blockbuster or something, went out of business, and he bought all their tapes. And so he was going to rent tapes, movie and a pizza, and he'd deliver it to you in this old car.
I used to have a place called the Gaslight Family Dining Room. And it was taken off of, there was a franchise restaurant in LA, in California, called the Big Yellow House. And you'd come in, and it would be family-style food. So there'd be a platter of chicken or a platter of sliced beef and mashed potatoes, and your family would sit down and you'd eat family style. And so I always thought that was a great concept. We did that, the Gaslight Family Dining Room, for about, 3 years, I think. But it just wasn't theatrical enough. And so then I started researching diners, thinking that would be a more theatrical, fun venue. And so, boy, I traveled around, and I'd go to all the diners I could find, and I would steal different ideas from every diner. I'd say, hey, you know, I hate this, but I like this concept. And so I kind of put it all together and came up with Little Anthony's Diner. A much more family diner than most of the diners out there. And then we started collecting the old cars and doing the car shows. We've got Tucson's oldest running car show. We get 100 to 150 cars. DJ John is our DJ. He's been doing it for, oh my God, 20 years, I think. When we were trying to name the place, I had a cook, great cook, you know, with a big temper. And we were trying to name the diner. So come on, guys, come up with something. And he used to always say, Little Anthony's on the warpath again, meaning me, because I'm Anthony and I'm little. And so anytime I was upset or pissed off, you know, you go, Little Anthony's on the warpath again. So it kind of stuck. And it happened to coincide with Little Anthony and the Imperials. That was a great 50s group. So Little Anthony's Diner, boom, we were in.
All right, sometimes I think she's almost sweet as me. Yeah, what's up, Walter?
So, I mean, that's always Tony's philosophy, was always make sure the oleo is great, because the show maybe is not as, but, and I remember for years and years and years, people would always say, well, we enjoy the shows at the Gaslight, but what we really like are the oleos. And so I heard that for years and years and years and years, and I was like, why do people keep saying this to me? That's kind of rude. And then I went, aha, I'll make the show just like an oleo.
Great, because it feels like a new show, but it also it's structured so differently where we can really show the audience our singing abilities and some of our core talents. Like the melodrama show, we'll do all of our acting and we'll do our little gags and our funny jokes and making each other laugh. But the Oleo is like, can they really sing? Can they really dance? And that's what we get to show with these things. And I love the themed aspects of them. They're really fun, and I think that it almost feels like it doesn't feel like a third act. It feels like you're refreshed. Renewed, and you're like, all right, great, I get to do this little variety show for like 20 minutes, and then and then they're done. So.
A show that I'm most proud of, probably the last one we did. They just get better and better. Elf was pretty spectacular. Had a backdrop in it from the worst Christmas show ever. The backdrop of Rockefeller Center outside the window. We did a Christmas show where Tony wanted to run the Christmas show into January. So it was a Western. They started in New York and they went out west. It wasn't very Western and it wasn't very Christmassy. It was the worst Christmas show ever. That drop showed up on stage last year. So special effects, Tony, the first few years, 5 years, 10 years, Tony would come in with an idea for a special effect, like the water, and want the director to put it in the show and want me to, do it, so he was always all about having new effects.
Always had to develop some sort of effect, some sort of theatrical something, and Tony really I think he was a technical theater major in college. Well, he came from that and he loved that part of it. He always wanted some gag, right? And so I think the look of the set's really professional looking, beautifully done, and the gag became iconic. Dirty Deal, The Lucky Lady had a train that broke through the back wall. Sherlock Holmes had collapsing walls in a tomb in Egypt. Every show had some big special effect attached to it, and that was a nod towards classic sort of melodrama.
When visitors come to town, I always ask them, have you been to the Gaslight? And they say, well, I've heard about it. And, well, you need to go there. And no one is ever disappointed. I mean, the Gaslight is on the map. It is Tucson. It's here to stay, and I've got to give Tony that credit and the people that work under Tony that have been so dedicated all these years. Tony was started small, and he worked and worked and worked and got it to where it is now. And the great thing about Tony is he's always trying to improve it, and he's always doing things to improve it. Especially during Christmas time, when there are 23 or 24 shows a week, and it's, of course, divided by 3 actors, but many times an actor will have to go on 13, 14, 15 times in a week. That's really tough. He knows he doesn't do that to me. I'm too old to do that anymore, but I know that I went on several times when I was sick, and so did everybody.
They all say there's nothing like this in our town. One guy said there's nothing like this in Canada, just yesterday. I mean, it's something, like I said, it's a progressive art, it's a progressive style. Like I said, it's a progressive art, it's a progressive style. It's constantly changing with the culture and environment that Arizona is, and also, just the rest of the way the culture all over the world goes. I think it's great for Tucson, because Tucson's a great family city, and there's lots of wonderfully lovely people here that genuinely live here in Tucson because of the environment, because of how it makes us all feel. And it's, it's great to have a place like this here, no matter what's going on in the world, to always, make you smile, just like to say.
The greatest ruler of them all, Lord Pumpa.
So vital important because it's, for some people, this is like the only theater they can go to. This is a great opportunity for kids and anybody who've just been to the movies, who've never been to a play, never seen a musical. This is a great starter. This is so vital for the importance of teaching kids and everybody about life and to laugh and just to have fun and everything like that, and to be interactive and everything like that. It's truly amazing, and it's a piece of Tucson history that needs to keep going and needs to stay.
Give me a beer stein and give me a hot dog. So of course it's Frank and Stein. It means absolutely nothing. The audience groans, and no matter, even if it failed, which it did most of the time, I said, I'm doing this no matter what because I like it. This is for me.
This is the Best New Bit Award in quotes. So this is the award that you get when you try a joke on stage and it doesn't work out. And we have a list of recipients, a log that's growing in numbers. Oh, God.
This is where we run the show from. Behind me, we have our soundboard, which controls all the microphone volumes for all of our actors and for our band. Up above, it's missing right now, but this is where our light board lives. It's downstairs. We're plugging in all of the cues for the show. Right behind me, we have all the controls for the house lights and all of the fans. We have our wonderful old spotlight. This spotlight's probably older than the theater we're in right now. And from here, we get a direct view of the stage. We can see when all the actors come on, adjust their volumes accordingly, bring them down, run the entire show, all of our sound effects from the sound effects pad. We have a cheat sheet up here of what color is what sound effect. It's kind of a one-man operation. You've got one hand on the spotlight running it and highlighting all of the actors, one hand on their microphone volumes watching the stage, and then when you need a sound effect, you just run a sound effect, and then back to here or back to the light board to call the next cue.
Running money, I blow it all on you.
I'm in charge of everything that happens on the stage. If a drop breaks or malfunctions, or an actor is late, or a prop is not in the right spot, I'm in charge of that, and I have to make sure all that runs smoothly. Like, other than the canvas drops, which we also hang those up, that's the first day of tech week. Rig those and tape them so they're all ready to go. And then anything else that you see that's like a hard bit of set is a flat that we've built. Just wood and muslin with a jack or something to hold it up on it. And we have a revolve drop, which is actually an old dry cleaner rack. For any of the motion scenes, like in this next show, we have an airplane scene where there's an airplane going, and in the background through the window, you see clouds going by, and it's an old dry cleaner rack up on the grid where we have S-hooks hooked in on a big, circular canvas drop, painted by Tom Benson, and it goes around. For this show, we have the hydros in the box. We use the hydros for stuff like bringing someone up from the stage or lowering them down if they need to make an entrance. But for this show, we're using them over here in the box to have a helicopter. We do a lot of rigging up in the grid. We have a lot of rigs where it's on tracks or travelers, which is just a pulley system on the fly rail, where we can move things across the stage on cables. So we have, in this show, we have a little helicopter that's suspended on fishing line that flies across, and it gives the illusion of a helicopter flying off in the distance.
These tend to be the large builds that happen during Tech Week. Like the ray gun used in Spider Guy, for example. I built that mostly in 2013 when we did that show. And although I updated it, I improved it a little bit for this show, but it was mostly already built. We're going to Gaslight tonight. Are you going to be there? And I say, well, I don't run too many of the shows anymore at this time, but you'll see my work there, and maybe I'll be there doing other stuff.
Our
running the shows every night, getting to do Space Wars and Back to the Past, a bunch of stuff based on movies that I was excited about when I was a kid. I wanted to make movies when I was a kid. Ended up kind of working here, and I started when I was 18, I think. It's been a ton of fun getting to come up with the ideas and then like a cheap way to pull them off, you know, with stuff you can find at the hardware store is always a good time.
We had a huge set piece fall down during the show, yeah. We had a giant boat flat, and one of the actors was supposed to help the ASM hold it, but they lost control and it fell down. They just kind of scrambled to get it back up, and it was hilarious to everybody because it didn't hit anybody and it was okay. So all the audience thought it was so funny.
Open bar on opening night. Hell yes.
What's the best thing about closing day? What? We get to drink. Open bar!
Take a closing night selfie. We want all of you to join with us.
But I'm telling you that I think that tradition goes back to Tim Gilbert. Gilbert brought that back to us, you know, way back in the day. And when we close the show, we do that chant.
Tim started it, and then he became a Christian, and so he couldn't say it. It was from the Vikings. Oh, oh, la da 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 da. Every night, and when it was over, that flood, with him leading it.
A great plan! A little crazy, but crazy enough it just might work!
Very into that. The first time I ever closed a show, and it's a big tradition. We all stand up on top of our. And I guess I do an opening night, but since I'm a swing, I don't do a lot of opening nights. But I was there for closing night, and they do this. I didn't even know what was going on. I've been standing up, and I guess apparently you have to do it where you're like stripped down through all our. As you can see, I'm in post-wig hair. That's as you lovely. So we're all like, you know, in our underoos, and they do this, but they bang on they sit in our chairs and we bang on just the shelving that's above the thing, and I can't even repeat what happened. I actually recorded it the first time it was happening. Some sort of chant. I was following along. I'm sure eventually I will learn the ways of the chanting at the end, but it was a cool little tradition I didn't know about. I'm so glad to love.
Business is helping support our local healthcare workers. The Gaslight Costume Shop has been busy cutting, sewing, and ironing new masks for medical workers in the area. One costume designer at the nearby Gaslight Theater says she is using her expertise as a designer to fashion some personal protective gear for doctors and nurses.
We could use some because we're only getting one of these, the same look of N95, which is what the medical staff uses. So they're only getting one. So these covers that I'm making would help protect the mask from having all the germs on it so that they can take it off and wash it. Us all here. I mean, until anyone says we can't be open, we're here. So that's helpful. And he's been, you know, he's keeping all the employees paid and helping out with employees that aren't even working. They're getting their regular paychecks for a little while, so that's helpful. He takes care of them. It's a family. You know, the Gaslight, it's a family here, so he's trying to take care of everybody. Tony's doing a lot of pizza for employees and stuff. One pizza a week. If you want a pizza, you get a pizza a week, from what I understand.
Quarantining and trying to figure out ways to get people back to the Gaslight Theater while staying 6 feet apart and all that. And we have our Monday night concert series out here. Everybody's 6 feet apart. We've got bands up on the stage.
A drive-in movie. It's great. Cut some kisses out of the show, you know, stuff that you don't even think about. We can't share props. We have to each have our own version of the props. It's a lot of reworking to make things safe, but throughout this process, everybody's been working together like a family, and we've come together and we're making it happen.
Just glad that they're giving something a try.
Wearing this awesome outfit. I, usually just wear my shorts and like tank top, especially with the weather. But, Renee Cloutier, our wonderful costume designer, decks us all out in the greatest of regalia. So that's one of the best things, and the costume shop's still working hard too. So.
For the last 10 years, we've seen every show over and over again, and they're all great. I don't think the Gaslight does anything that's not fun and not a blast to be a part of. We come to all the dress rehearsals, and then we always come back a couple of weeks at least later, because it's wonderful to see how it started, and then see how they've gelled, and all of the, you know, they have their little jokes that they come up with, and you know, it's so much different that first night and a couple 3 weeks later when they've got all their ad libs down, and it's just a blast. Again, everyone that comes into town, they're here once, twice, 3 times during the 6 months. And it's the heart and soul of Tucson entertainment.
It was voted maybe the #1 or #2 theater in Tucson. Not melodrama theater, not anything, theater. You know, it was our kind of competitor of original stuff. So we were a pretty legit theater when I was there. But we offered a very unique packaging, and it was fun, and it was popcorn, and we did some booing and hissing, but we didn't milk that.
I enjoy the laughter. I like being able to laugh, to enjoy. I don't have the gift of music. Mine's baking. So for years, I would bake for the actors. And they used my lemon bars as a prop in the show one time. It was the guy they had to rope around the good guy. And the bad guy was moving his mouth up and down. Are you hungry? Here, have a lemon bar. The guy glares at me, knowing their mind. Popped it in his mouth. The audience roared. It made my night. I laugh every time I think about it. The bad part was when he bit down on the lemon bars, the powdered sugar went all over the stage floor. And the person they gave the broom to was choreographer. So she's sweeping up the powdered sugar.
Just a little change.
Come to the Gaslight, then they've gone to ATC, and they've gone to IT, and they go to all the other theaters, Live Theater Workshop. And it's really been such a big, integral part of this town. When people have company coming, they come to the Gaslight. So it's kind of brought the community together. I would say that it has.
Make sure you look on the walls, because all the history is right there.
Bill Dameron as Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge. He ran the whole production. Every night, every show, he was always there. And just an incredible actor. He got so into the part, he was Scrooge. It didn't look like he was acting. He really looked like the part. A real iconic character at the U of A drama department as well.
Clothing they have fire sales.
Blazers.
Birthday parties, people get engaged, people come there to celebrate, and they do it with the people closest to them. When people come back to town, that's where they want to go. It is tradition. Gaslight is tradition. It is kind of built into the fabric, the DNA of this community. If you want to know where to go to have fun, that's clean, go to the Gaslight. You will not be disappointed. People go to see something that they are confident and absolutely assured that when they go, it's a trusted experience. They know that they're going there and they're going to see something that will make them smile. It is simply a fact. The Gaslight is smiles.
This is a nice family get-together, whatever you call it. I'm old too. I'm 90 years old.
You don't look it, dear. You look fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm just hoping you'd say that. Well, it's just super. I've been going to the Gaslight since they were over in the barn or whatever it was. Several years. And Tony and I have been friends for a long time. Everybody is so talented in there. They just make everybody happy.
People always bring their friends who come in from out of town, and it's just kind of a Tucson staple. And I've been in the greeting line and people come out saying, I haven't laughed in weeks and you've really turned my day around. I had an older gentleman tell me that we are the reason that he wants to keep on living, which is something that really, you take to heart. And it's really a joy to just make people laugh, especially in a time where, there are some kind of interesting things going on in the world. And it's nice to be able to have people step out of their lives for a moment and just kind of bring some joy to the world. So.
I think everybody in the artistic department, like Peter and Linda Ackerman and Tom Benson and Tony, you know, like everybody, Catherine Burns, you know, the costume shop, Renee, like it's a bunch of these beautiful individuals, and then when it comes all together, it's magic. And that's what makes me want to do it. That's what inspires me. That's what makes me so happy and fulfilled. We get to be on stage with all, like, this is happening right now? Like, this is so crazy. This is so lovely and so wonderful. I'm tickled. I feel like an audience member.
Actor. I know all the actors and Tony Terry, and it's the best entertainment in Tucson, bar none.
After the shows were over, Lynn came up to me one night not too long ago, and she said, Joe, my husband and I have been watching you for over 30 years. My husband passed away 2 weeks ago. He says, I came back tonight just so I could laugh. That made a lot to me.
I think Joe Cooper's mustache came on my face when he was supposed to, and this was my son-in-law, to kiss me, you know. Well, I had the mustache.
If you've been to the Gaslight Theater and read the Gaslight Gazette, you might have noticed we almost lost Tony Terry. But thanks to Dr. Michael Gasky, we still have Tony for a long time.
Is there anybody in working for you now who would do it?
I kind of like the idea of Dave Darland and Heather Stricker taking over. They would both be able to run the theater and do a great job, and my son Brian could take care of all of the technical aspects.
All of you so much. You really have made my life. Every bit of it. I just can't thank you enough. I love seeing your faces. And I meant to say this tonight, but I didn't, but I'm going to say it now. When I'm watching preview or opening night, and it makes me cry that you are that good, that talented, bringing that warmth and love to the...
So much for coming to see our show, because without all of you, we would not now be celebrating 47 years entertaining Tucson, Arizona. That's right, yeah. You all, some of us would be standing in front of a store spinning a sign dressed exactly the way I am right now. That's very true, so we thank you for your support.
Just unbelievable. I love all of you guys, and I can't tell you how many times I'll sit there and get choked up, and that's when I know it's a hit. You know, it's going to be a hit. And all of you are amazing. Heather, thank you again so much for putting this together. Just beautiful. Thank you. Let's keep having fun. How about that?
Hey, look at all these programs I've collected from the 15 years of me going to the Gaslight. Oh, this isn't even half of that much. But, hey, I wanted to tell you, thank you so much for all the fondest memories, the laughter, and the present employment. So, here's to 40 more years of the Gaslight.
You have created such a fun and wonderful environment for families and for your employees. So, thanks so much. Keep on rocking it.
Giving a lot of people a lot of opportunities. You were somebody who had the openness of heart and openness of mind and generosity that you hosted my mother's memorial service at the Gaslight. And I guess maybe this is why I've waited so long, because every time I think about it, I get emotional. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
He's only 40? Oh, it's not birthday? Okay, never mind.
I had a blast working there for 25 years, and I know the memories and the friendships are going to last a lifetime. I'm grateful to you for so many things, let's face it. Thanks, Tony.
But thank you for all that you've given us and given each other.
Cooper, I just wanted to say congratulations on the 4-year anniversary of
40,
your
Joe. 40th year.
40?
Yeah, 40.
Whew. It's a long time. Yeah, I've been here for 31 years, so I guess you're right. Anyway, so Terry, the owner.
Joe, it's
Tony Terry. His first name.
Tony's his first name?
Tony's his first. Have you been calling him Terry this whole time?
I thought it was Terry. Anyway, congratulations, 40 years. This has been the best job I've ever had in my whole life. And I've been here for 31 years and just couldn't think of another job that I would like any more than this. Tony, I love you. Thank you for making this such a wonderful place to go to.
It's Cameron Martin. Happy anniversary and congratulations on 40 years at the Gaslight Theater.
Aaron and I fell in love here at the Gaslight, and we fall in love with this place every single day.
Congratulations!
Congratulations!
My most embarrassing moment from my Gaslight days when I fell through the stage during a live production of A Small Town Christmas. Remember that, everybody that was there? Yes, that happened. Don't worry, clearly I'm still acting, I'm fine, and I'm a lot less clumsy, so thanks to Gaslight. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Okay, love you guys. Oh, shit!
Happy 40th anniversary, Tony!
Tony, on 40 years, and thank you for building the theater love of my life.
40 years? You are so old. Congratulations. I miss you all, and I miss you, and it was an absolute honor to work for the Gaslight and to work for you and to know you. Congratulations, and I wish you nothing but the best and 40 million more years.
40 years of making people smile and sing along and laugh till beer comes out their nose. It's noble work.
Many, many years later, after doing just a handful of shows there, I still can feel my stomach hurting from laughing all the time.
I am so proud and so privileged that I was a part of your theater for almost 7 years. I was able to sing and dance and act on your stage almost every night of my life. And I'm so grateful to you for allowing me to do that. So grateful. And I want you to know that you and the Gaslight Theater brought joy, so much joy and laughter to the lives of literally thousands of people, including myself. I want you to know that I love you, I'm grateful to you, and I thank you so much for giving me such wonderful times while I worked for you. Thank you, Tony, and congratulations.
For employing me for the last 25 years, and here's to another 40 years at the Gaslight Theater. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for employing him when nobody else. Love you! Happy 40th!
Hey, Dad.
Happy 40 years of Gaslight.
And more than 40 years of amazing fashion sense. We're ready for the next 40.
Oh, it's a compass. Oh, that's beautiful.
Because he's an avid hiker.
Yeah,
right?
so we won't get lost.
For guiding us through the rough waters.
Let's hear one more time for Tony Terry. Thank you, Tony, for the job.
Holy schmoly!
Hope to see you again real soon. Have a safe drive home. Good night!
Holy schmoly!